You're looking at another Moon Man or Moon Men duo for 2023. This little combo right here could potentially take you to the promised land. And we're breaking it down right now. The Fantasy Football Show Moon Man unveiling Isiah Pacheco plus Jerick McKinnon show begins right now.
FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show live
Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Ladies and gentlemen, right in front of your face are a duo. A duo that I believe at cost of entry could walk you into the promised land in 2023. And I say that because there is so much upside given the cost of entry. There's literally, given that you could consume these two to the tune sometimes of a 6th-round pick, and I don't even know what double-digit round pick you'd need to spend on Pacheco. A lot depends on where you're drafting. If you're drafting on Underdog Fantasy, if you're drafting on Sleeper, if you're drafting on a different app. But what I do know is that if you decide to punt running back early in your draft, whether it's to punt running back 2 only, and you draft like a Bijan in round 1, and then you punt running back 2 for several rounds. We're talking through round 5. Sometimes you can take him in 5, and it's not too early, late 5. And other times he's sitting there right in round 6. I've got him in 7 before. But Pacheco in round 6, let's call it, and McKinnon in well into double-digit rounds is one of the most beautiful, made for guys that and girls and fantasy football owners that understand how to build that running back 2 in a crafty fashion. This is for you. This is for the crafty owner. This is even for somebody that goes 0 RB and they go wide receiver, quarterback, tight end, and they keep punting running back, and then you get to Pacheco and McKinnon and Kamara and Swift and J.K. Dobbins, or whoever you want to throw into the mix of that running back 6 round to 7 round, sometimes end of round 5 territory. This is going to be a pretty darn good combination. Not to mention, it's crafty, because there could be a time, a world where you live in this world and you need another player to throw into your lineup because of an injury or a bye week or whatever. And now you've got 2 options, because this guy could actually thrive while this guy's also thriving. Because this is your between the tackle monster. This is your reception specialist. And combined, I feel like you've got a very, very, very safe running back 2 that can play like a running back 1. Let's be honest, this guy could flirt in the top 10 running back territory, this Isiah Pacheco character, who's looking pretty good right now in this offense. Very trusted in this offense. Now, the offense is very rotational. This is something that, I don't know, this is something that definitely feels like there's some volatility there, because they rotate in KC. They have, Clyde came in and tore it up. I mean, you might forget foggy memories about Clyde, because people are so pissed and been out of shape about how he's failed, and he failed all of us. He failed me. I hope he gets traded to Cincinnati if Mixon gets released. But Pacheco feels like he is the guy they've been looking for, and he feels like he's cemented into the starting job without much of a threat of losing it to a rotation like 2022 pretty much showed us all year long. Rotation. Clyde went nuts in the first couple weeks, first month of the season. Then Pacheco got on his horse. McKinnon got on his horse. McKinnon was literally the number 1 or number 2 running back in fantasy football for about a month straight. He was absolutely incredible. Just incredible. Scoring like no other running back in the National Football League. McKinnon was arguably, there was 2 weeks where I think he was back-to-back number 1 overall for fantasy RBs. And then Pacheco started getting used. But the fact that you can get both these guys is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal combination. Pacheco has been late 6th, 7th round in my last few drafts, and that's where I'm saying you don't even need to necessarily lock him into round 6. You could see what happens. There's times where I didn't expect to draft him. I went maybe running back 1, running back 2. In the beginning of my draft, I got a bunch of wide receivers. I wasn't planning on targeting running back, although you know me, I'm best player available. And Pacheco fell to round 7. And I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm going to take him as my third RB, my flex spot. And then I love that. But Pacheco had a hand injury, surgery. He had a shoulder injury, got that taken care of, and he played through it all like an absolute beast. And so, there's injury concern because he runs like he's 250 pounds and he's not. He definitely is like not a smaller back, but he's definitely not a big back in the traditional sense of a grinded out between the tackles running back. But Pacheco looks very, very much like he's 250 pounds when he's running the football. He'll barrel through you. It's not just that he thinks he's big and then he gets, hit at the line of scrimmage and gets smashed to pieces. This guy will tear through you. He doesn't go down with the first tackle. There is some injury risk with his style of play, which is why we very much need to cuff McKinnon to him. But the team brought back McKinnon for a reason. He was set for free agency. He's an older player. I believe he's 31 years old. We do not like 31 and 30-year-old running backs. I've made that a point on the show, at every turn. But the difference between me liking a player temporarily or in spurts or in 4, 5, 6 game windows, that's what McKinnon is. McKinnon's not a guy I'm telling you will play 17 games. Just like I if you could tell me, hey, Smitty, here's Derrick Henry for the first month of football playing a fantasy league that has 4 weeks 1 through 4 only, then I value Derrick Henry very differently, and I think we all would. We draft him a lot higher. And so McKinnon, the expectation is if he comes in for 4 or 5 games, he could go on a tear. Or at 31 years old, given the low mileage, he could come in and be a wide receiver option for Patrick Mahomes if, let's say, the wide receiver room gets banged up. Tony ends up getting hurt or flies, off the handle and leaves the game, rips his shirt off like Antonio Brown and deuces out on the field. And then all of a sudden McKinnon's the guy they lean on, and you see Pacheco and McKinnon both thriving, kind of like Montgomery and Gibbs. This feels a lot like Monty and Gibbs to me. And not only does it feel like Monty and Gibbs to me, it feels like the reverse in terms of the guy we really love is in the Monty role, whereas in Detroit, the guy we really love is in the McKinnon role. And so this could be one of those really special combinations that you get, and you even explore the idea of the rookie running back Prince. You even explore the idea of rostering and housing 3 of the KC running backs on your team if you have very, very deep benches. If you can only hold 4 or 5 bench guys, you probably don't even maybe want to go down this road, because what if cuffing McKinnon is even difficult given your bench size? So you have to know your own league. I can't decide all that for you. I don't understand what your league's going through, what your lineup requirements are, what changes are going to happen going into your next season. You've got to take all this information and apply it logically to your situation. If you only have 5 bench players, maybe this isn't the exact approach to take in that specific league. You're drafting in best ball, Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, which, might I add, they launched a brand new feature today called Weekly Winners. Weekly Winners is where you draft a best ball team like normal. You draft in a group of 12. You draft 18 rounds, you draft 1 and you're done. There's no weekly decisions to be made, but that team goes into a best ball draft, and instead of paying the week 17 winner, it pays the winner, total point winner, $20,000, whoever wins week 1. And then the numbers all reset. Then week 2, the same team you drafted goes up against everybody. Whoever wins week 2, $20,000, and so on. Like, the prizes go deep. And it's such a cool way to play what we're already playing. It's not a weekly decision type of thing. You draft a team, and then the winning team every week gets paid $20,000, and then so on and so on. I believe the prizes are as follows. Let me put the prizes on screen here, and you guys can take a gander at it. But it is absolutely amazing that they added this, because when you think about it, sometimes you have a really, really, really good team and it's doing well out of the gate and then you don't win the whole thing and nobody knows how good your team was. Nobody understands, hey, you had a real winner here. It's called Weekly Winners, $15 an entry. Again, Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. That link is in the description of every single video, including this one. I'll drop the link right now in the live chat. I'll pin it in 1 second. There's the link right there. But it's Weekly Winners. You have to update your app. If you don't see it, go to the App Store, click on Underdog Fantasy. It might even say open, like the blue open button. Click on the actual name of Underdog. It'll bring you into the actual app details, and that's where you'll see the update button. Update your app. If you don't update your Underdog app, you will not see Weekly Winners until you update your app. So don't DM me and say, Smitty, I don't see it. Update your app. Update your app. And then you'll see it. And here are the prizes for this. It's so cool. It's the coolest little contest. So look, if you read this carefully, weekly prize breakdown. Weekly prize breakdown. This is getting paid weekly. First place for the entire week, $20K. Second, $10K. Third, $9. Fourth, $8. Then so on. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But $1,000K going to 11th through 20th. You literally get $450 if you're 50th place on the week. And then what happens in week 2? Everything goes to zero. Everybody goes to zero. And who wins week 2? $20K. Who wins week 3? $20K. Nothing matters. No week is tied to the next week. There's no winner at week 17. It's just a chance to maybe win $1,000 here, $1,000 here. Absolutely unbelievable. All right, so let's see here. Let's roll back into this Pacheco stuff. So the thing is, in Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty, you can draft Pacheco and McKinnon, put them on one team, and you could even scoop up Clyde Edwards-Helaire if you wanted to, or Prince the rookie. You can do whatever you want in an 18-round, 18-man league, okay? Because you got 18 roster spots. So understand and know how to apply this. But Pacheco, I mean, this guy had a phenomenal season when you look at the numbers. And when you look at the numbers for McKinnon, and you add them all together, this is a top 5 or 6 running back. This is like if you include McKinnon's good games, Pacheco's good games, like when they were in that starting role, and you can clearly know and define when one is being the feature back and when one is not. And if McKinnon is the starter, and you started 17 starts, not overlapping these two guys, you only played these two to the tune of using one of them at a time in 17 starts. If you look back at Clyde Edwards-Helaire's 3 or 4 game window and you use those points, then you look at McKinnon's stretch of games, you use those points, and then when Pacheco took over, you use just those points. If you look at that, this is borderline a top 5 or 6 running back in fantasy football. That's my point. That's my point. It's an unbelievable duo that has officially cracked the Moon Men list.
The Moon Men, dropping loads in outer space.
Look at that. Look at that.
Space Monsters.
Look at this list. We were toying with the idea of taking the duplicates off the Moon Men list and putting them only on the Mars Men. Because if you look at the Mars Men list,
he's on a shuttle to Mars.
We do have duplicates.
Mars Men.
We had duplicates by design, and I initially wanted to do that, and I think I'm going to keep doing it.
Dropping and spinning aimlessly in space.
These are the men that win you leagues. These are the men that are going to lead you into battle like no other men in the entire 2023 fantasy football class. These are the guys. These are the draft values. Olave, absolute gold when you go to ESPN, and he's still there. Steven gifting 5 memberships, by the way. Steven to the moon, pal. Appreciate you, Steven. This is Olave going around 2 is a steal, to be honest with you. You draft Olave 18, you were getting one of the steals of the second round. But if you get him in round 3 because you're drafting on ESPN, go for it and smash with it. Bijan is a monster that will carry people. You draft him in the 6th overall, 7th overall territory, and he's going to play like running back 1. Burrow right here. Our man Burrow going in round 4, home run wins you a league. Chase, he's going high, but he's still a Mars man because this combination is going to destroy. And Chase might finally, healthy, playing with Burrow behind a better offensive line, improved offensive line, Burrow not struggling in weeks 1 and 2 like last year. This is going to be Jamar Chase's season, where he drops a 1,500 yard season. He drops well over 110 receptions, and he pulls in a massive amount of like 15, 16, 14 plus touchdowns in 2023. More yards per target than anybody in the National Football League. Let's see him play a full season this year and see him produce the number one by far overall numbers in 2023. That's my number one overall in PPR and half PPR. Izzo with a $2 super chat like a monster. Garrett Wilson's a top 3 to 5 wide receiver. Learn about it. Breece Hall is going to explode. He's going to maybe be unleashed slowly, so don't get too upset if like weeks 1 and weeks 2, you start seeing like improvement, and maybe week 1 he's getting 80 and a touch and he doesn't have a whole lot more going on. You got to be patient. Gibbs is a top 5 to 10 running back. Fields is a dream come true in round 5 and 6. These are your Mars men. But like I said, I almost toyed around with taking the Mars men that were also on the Moon Men list off the Moon Men list, but I did it. I didn't like it. I didn't like the feel. I didn't like looking at these lists. I don't care if there's overlap. What the Mars Men list is a highlight of the most important Moon Men. That's where the Mars Man derived from in terms of this show. And I think if we went away from that, it would lose its allure and appeal. And the fact that you go to the moon, that's where you go to launch off to Mars. There's no reason to take you off. And some of the Mars Men, Burrow and Chase, are not Moon Men because they've already broken out. They were Moon Men last year. They're going to stay on the Mars Men list even if they're not on the Moon Men list. But this Moon Men list isn't going anywhere.
The Moon Men, dropping loads in outer space.
This is the list, ladies and gentlemen. In Isiah Pacheco and McKinnon, you could call it cuffs like this list explains. This is a potential winner. This may not have the Gibbs appeal in round 4. This may not have the Garrett Wilson appeal to be a top 3 wide receiver, and you can sometimes get him at 12, 13. This may not have the appeal that T. Law and Fields have in terms of being maybe top 10 overall players in fantasy football in the round 5, 6 territory. But this is one of the craftiest ways to fill your running back 2 spot. Just like Tank Dell and Dotson and Tony and these guys aren't, and Kincaid aren't as big a splashes initially, and there could be a slow start for Kincaid. There could be maybe a slow start for Dell, maybe not. Tony might be a bust. He has a lot of bust potential. Swift has a ton of bust potential. These guys, Gibbs, Bijan, Olave, Wilson, they're so much more solid. Fields, that's why they cracked the Mars Man list. But Pacheco and McKinnon are here to stay. Moon Men, here you are. Look at you now. Look at you now. And I couldn't be more thrilled with the way the Moon Men list and the Mars Men list look. We took Pitts off of the Moon Men list, not to demote him. We put him. I need to redo the Satellite Man list.
Satellite Men, space cadets in training.
Ridley could very well pop up on the Moon Man list. Right here, he's getting respect. I'm going to take off these guys because they've now graduated. A lot of times we pull from this list, right? And Pitts isn't really getting demoted as much as there's some injury concern. And if we're going to take anybody off of the Moon Man list that's a Falcon, it's not Drake London. And so it's not really that he's being demoted. He's just being moved over here. And yeah, so I've been able to grab most of the Mars Men in every mock draft I'm in. That's awesome, Isaac. That's awesome. This is it. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Moon Men list.
The Moon Men.
We may add more.
Dropping loads in outer space.
Taking off Kyle Pitts made it so that it wasn't so crowded to add Pacheco and McKinnon.
Space Monsters.
But we could add one more, I imagine. If I add one more, I may not take someone off. If I've got to take anybody off, the players that come to mind And again, this is not to say I don't like them. I want everybody to understand. Thomas dropping his 4-month membership anniversary, listening from work every day. Appreciate it, Smitty Thomas. Appreciate you. And thank you, Steven, for dropping those 5 exclusive memberships. This is not a knock on these guys. It's just there's only so much room, you know? And that's why they're not getting demoted as much as just being bumped to the satellite man list. But the player that would get bumped if I had to pull from it would be Swift, Pickens, or maybe Tony. No one else is getting moved. Nobody's getting moved. Charbonnet, Walker, hell no. Pacheco McKinnon, I just added him. Hell no. Hall, absolutely not. Pollard, monster. Even from round 2, monster. Win a league potential, Tony Pollard from round 2. No one's getting moved but maybe one of those guys. And that's not even for sure, because I don't know that I want to sit here and look at the satellite man list every time we want to praise somebody that's going nuts. I don't want to be like, can you believe how, like, if Kyle Pitts does end up tearing it up right out of the gate, you know how pissed off I'm going to be that I got to go, Kyle Pitts, our satellite man, I moved him down.
Satellite man.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to move Tony down and Tony does what we think he's going to do. And I got to press the satellite man button every time we want to praise Tony's name. If we add one more, I'm going to try my best. Hopefully it doesn't look too crowded. You guys tell me. I don't think it looks like we're just throwing mud at the wall. That's what I don't want. I don't want everybody to come in here later and be like, Smitty, you had 87 predictions. Of course, you know, a couple of them landed. I want it to be an intimate little setting. And I believe it still has that feel right now.
The moon men.
That's not the most
loads in outer space.
I mean, that's a limited number. It's more than last year, but it's still small.
Space Moon 6.
You know, we got 2 quarterbacks. We don't have more than 2 quarterbacks. We only have 1 tight end. We have 8 wide receivers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 running back slots if you include the duos as one. That's not the craziest amount of numbers, you know. I think we're okay. I think we can add one more. I'll tell you right now, if you're watching right now, first of all, hit that thumb up button. If we can get to, like, let's get to 100 thumbs up, okay? Let's get to 100 thumbs up. Please, punch that button for your boy Smitty. I was going to say something, but let me just say this. You're in here right now. 114 of you deserve a little lead on maybe one of the next Moon Men potential players that I'm looking at. Anthony Richardson. I mean, he's on the satellite man list. You don't have to be on the satellite man list to be elevated to the Moon Man list, but I'm definitely looking to Anthony Richardson as potentially the next Moon Man. And so I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of insight on that. You're here. There's 116 of you monsters in here. Punch that thumb up button like the monster you know you are. And let's get to it. The phone lines are open. We're talking Isiah Pacheco and McKinnon. We're talking, let's try and keep to the topic the best we can. And the topic being this type of player. Whether it's Swift in round 6, whether it's Kamara in round 6, whether it's J.K. Dobbins in 5-6, who we like a lot. Only reason, hold on one second. I got a little surprise for all of you. There we go. It is Denny season in here. I'm wearing my Denny shirt. Call in, especially Denny. Denny, if you're out there, call into the show. It's Denny season. Cheryl dropping a $10 hauler. A moonshot to anybody dropping a $10 hauler. Appreciate you very, very much. And this super chat says, hey, Smitty, how would you rank these QBs? Should we miss out on the top dogs during the draft? And would you consider any as a QB1? Richardson, Danny Dimes, Rodgers, Carr, Geno, Goff. Great question. And I very much like the Richardson-Aaron Rodgers combo. I think if you go any one of these players, you should have another comparable with it. Similar to like Rodgers, Carr. Rodgers, Anthony Richardson. But Anthony Richardson, about to become potentially a Moon Man, would be very much a crafty player that I would go after if I miss my parachutes in round 5, 6, 7. And parachutes being Joe Burrow round 4, Fields and T-Law in 5 and 6. And I got to grab one more parachute before the plane is going down. Aaron Rodgers, Anthony Richardson, definitely in my wheelhouse. If I miss out on my bigger guns, which, to answer your question, Cheryl, I'm definitely going to draft Burrow in round 4 every time I see it. I'm definitely drafting Fields in round 5 if I don't already have Burrow every time I see it. And I'm probably drafting, T-Law in round 6 every time I see it if I don't have the other quarterbacks. And in Best Ball Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, I draft both. I draft 2 quarterbacks. I'll take 2 all day long. I don't need to worry about taking Fields and Burrow in a 1 QB in Best Ball because optimal scoring takes care of you. But Richardson and Rodgers would be a phenomenal combo, Cheryl. A phenomenal combo. And you might even struggle. You'll start Rodgers week 1, but you might struggle at some point as to what to do. And Rodgers could flirt with top 5 or 6 quarterback numbers. I've been so tempted to do a video like borderline Moon Man Aaron Rodgers. I've been so tempted. Because, he's got the best setup he's ever had. He's got the best defense he's ever had. He's got arguably the best defense in the National Football League. Something Sauce Gardner and the boys, I think, are going to prove during the season as they finally have a quarterback putting the defense in good positions and not making them tired out, playing on the field, getting on the field the whole time. Everyone says the Niners D is the number 1 D, and that's certainly arguable. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not. But who's not talking about the Jets? A lot of people. The Jets are going to go out and be absolutely phenomenal. Cheryl, amazing question. And that's the kind of question I think people are wanting asked right now and answered. So it's a really good one. Appreciate the $10 holler. Phone lines are open. Let's talk Pacheco if we can, Oscar. Oscar's live on the show. Oscar, you're live. Try and circle in about Pacheco McKinnon or players in that situation. Like, hey, Smitty, I want to get a guy that I shouldn't, who do I get out of these guys in a territory where we feel like they're hiding? Like, this is in the weeds to me. The fantasy weeds. Pacheco, Swift, Kamara, J.K. Dobbins, Fields, Trevor Lawrence. This is where we call the fantasy weeds around these parts. Let's talk fantasy football weeds. Let's talk about people hiding, monsters hiding in the weeds, bro.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Smitty. Thank you for taking my call. I'm actually a big fan of Pacheco. I have him in one of my dynasty teams for sure, as well as McKinnon in another. I actually was going to ask, between A.J. Dillon and McKinnon, who would you put as either as a flex spot or RB2?
That's a really good question. And I do have to say that there is some risk with McKinnon that A.J. Dillon also kind of has, but not maybe as much, because A.J. Dillon's probably, unless he gets hurt, he's probably going to get a significant amount of work. But I don't really know what that's going to look like. We don't know. We've always been excited about Dillon, and then Dillon doesn't necessarily show up the way we want. And so it's easy to give up on him right now and not say to ourselves, that Dillon will never show up. He could have 10 touchdowns any given season. But he also feels a little bit like Kareem Hunt to us, if you know what I mean. Like, we've been waiting, and eventually it's like, it doesn't matter how long we've been waiting, and his opportunity could be the best it's ever been. He might not have it left at some point to deliver what our expectation always has kind of been hiding. And I think that McKinnon being 31 is a tough risk as well, because you don't know what he can do. And even if he goes out and explodes for 4 or 5 games, does he have like a 5 or 6 game shelf life because he's 31 years old? I'd say that if you need safety and you need more longevity, Dillon's probably safer, and he could get you like 8 touchdowns and kind of play all year. But if I'm drafting just one, Dillon or McKinnon, and I don't have Aaron Jones and I don't have Pacheco, because of course we'll grab the one that matches with the player, the cuff, I probably would want to lean McKinnon, because I think that maybe you're not starting Dillon and you're not starting McKinnon, or if you are, they're in a flex spot, or they're in an opportunity to compete with your flex spot. And I think McKinnon just possesses a little more upside, because we saw him be running back 1, bro, multiple times. He was running back 1 or running back 2 for a couple weeks in a row. And I feel like that potential's still there.
I see. That being said, because I do have McKinnon right on my team, but that would be a good idea in terms of cuffing both Pacheco and McKinnon. Who would you trade to be able to upgrade to Pacheco?
He's a 6th, 7th round player, so you don't necessarily have to pay through the roof. But I mean, like if we look at underdog ADP rankings and we try and look at let me put some of those on screen real quick. Let me put them on screen, and you guys can see the underdog ADP rankings on thefantasyfootballshow.com. I have them on my rankings pages. You can take a look at that anytime. But if we look at the rankings and we look at RB rankings, so Pacheco is down in the 81 overall territory, which is phenomenal. That's running back 24. Above him is Swift. Above him is Cam Akers. Above him is Dameon Pierce, Miles Sanders, Alexander Madison, J.K. Dobbins, Aaron Jones. Then you start getting toward like Mixon, and then Kenneth Walker's below Mixon, which is crazy. I would trade Mixon in a heartbeat for him. And Mixon's ranked so much higher. I would take Pacheco over McKinnon, and I wouldn't even bat an eye. I wouldn't even ask for more. I don't even care. I wouldn't even need to look up ADP, even if I was way off in ADP like I am. If someone said, hey, what do you want for Mixon? I'll give you Pacheco. I wouldn't even stop to check ADP and see Mixon's going at 50 overall and Pacheco's going 81 overall. 50 over. What are people thinking drafting Mixon at 50 overall? I wouldn't even care about that ADP differential, and I'd say give it to me. I wouldn't even want the guy to change his mind. So like that's an example. Monty, give me Pacheco over Monty. I know Monty's in a good spot. I'll trade Rashad White in a very sketchy situation for Pacheco in a heartbeat. I would trade all this Dalvin Cook buzz for Pacheco in a heartbeat. Like those are examples at running back. Cam Akers, I could understand somebody wanting to keep Cam over Pacheco, but I'd rather have Pacheco. And if we look at wide receivers, I mean, I look at Mike Williams at 46 overall, and I scratch my head at how we're drafting Mike Williams at 46 overall. Guy can't stay on the field, and we're drafting Pacheco 80. Like, there's a discrepancy that I wouldn't even worry about. I'd do that trade straight up. Hollywood Brown, 59 overall versus Pacheco's, what did I say Pacheco was, 80? Let me see. Yeah, 81. So Pacheco's 81. I mean, bro, that's the kind of stuff you do. Mike Williams, boom, done. Give me Pacheco all day. All day long, bro. All day. But it's a cuff. But it's a cuff, bro. It's a cuff, though, bro. It's a cuff. This is like Charbonnet and Walker. There's a reason. Look at the movement list. There's a reason I spent my time, my important time.
The Moon Men
Of putting these
dropping loads in outer space.
These graphics together the way that I did. Pacheco and Cuffs, Charbonnet and Walker are Moon Men.
Space Monsters.
But it's so important to understand that it's the combination. A lot of people come to me and say, Smitty, you're right on Walker. I drafted him. I didn't get Charbonnet, but I agree with you on Walker. And I hate to, it breaks my heart to send a message back to him and say, bro, you didn't listen. You can't draft Walker. And not Pacheco. I'm sorry, Walker and Charbonnet. If you had Walker already and you don't have the draft pick to get Charbonnet in your upcoming rookie draft or whatever, that's understandable. And I wouldn't sell the farm. I wouldn't sell Walker away just because you can't get Pacheco, like in some panic. I would look to do moves to maybe either get Charbonnet or make your running back room or situation safer. But it's such a vital cuff. There's just no reason not to have both, because you can reach a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit, to guarantee Charbonnet. I think in a best ball draft, even when we draft within our community, maybe 1 out of 9 times I don't get Charbonnet. Even when I'm drafting inside our community and I can just reach a round, no one's going to reach more than that. And so, like, you're almost guaranteed. You're guaranteed to get Charbonnet if you're smart about it. But you have to have both. And you're guaranteed to get McKinnon and Pacheco if you're smart about it. And if you come away with one Pacheco and no McKinnon in a fresh draft, or Walker and no Charbonnet, you're playing a game of, I don't know, you're playing a game of fire because you're going to absolutely have good value out of Walker. I think Walker is going to be, it's going to be a ridiculous reflection for everybody to look back, I think, after week 1 and say, wow, we were really that worried about Charbonnet. And that's no knock on Charbonnet. I just don't think Charbonnet will be up to speed. And maybe he doesn't even get a carry. Like, we don't even know. He could be a healthy scratch. Like, we have no idea. He could still play well. I'm not saying he can't. You guys know how much I love Charbonnet. But it wouldn't shock me at all if we were all watching Walker explode in week 1 and everybody going, whoa, like the fantasy industry across the board is going to be like, wow, we didn't see that one coming, did we? We did. But we're safeguarding our prediction and our pick because we're emphasizing to the extreme, to the max, that you've got to have Charbonnet and Walker. You have to. Same thing here. Ron Navy, you're live. Oscar, just hang tight. You can ask more questions, hang out on hold, or you can drop whatever you want, but you're more than welcome to stay. We probably will have 4, 5, 6 people added here on the phone line. So, Ron Navy, how you feeling about the Pacheco? How you feeling about the Pacheco McKinnon stack?
Yeah, I haven't really stacked them much. I've taken a lot of McKinnon, some of Pacheco, but I haven't taken really them together.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ron, that you have to have Pacheco McKinnon. You have to. If you don't, you miss the boat. I'm not saying it won't work out for you, but you miss the boat. But you know what you can do? Draft just McKinnon. Just like if you draft Walker, you have to draft Charbonnet. But do I draft a lot of Charbonnet standalone? Absolutely. You could draft a lot of Charbonnet by himself, a lot of McKinnon by himself, but definitely need to cuff if you go the other direction. So it's a good point.
My first weekly that I've done. This is my team. It's Josh Allen, Justin Fields, Kenny Pickett, Ramondre Stevenson, Charbonnet, McKinnon, Brown. We just talked about McKinnon, and Evan Hall. Because nobody's going to draft Evan Hall hardly, so he's a good differential guy.
Yeah, I'm not drafting him, but I get why you like him.
Chase, London, Pickens, Dotson, Reed, Shakir, Dell, and Tyler Scott.
That's nice.
And Freiermuth and Kincaid.
Nice job. Scared Scott's on the phone.
What's that?
We got Scared Scott on the phone too. What, Scott?
You're going to have to tell me where this upside's coming from, because the Chiefs running backs ran for 10 touchdowns last year.
Come on, bro. Come on. Tell me you aren't doing this right now.
They got 8 of their quarterbacks and wide receivers.
God, Scott, do I have to school you in front of everybody right now? Does this lesson need to happen?
I see.
Good God.
I see a total of 10 touchdowns out of the running back car.
Do I have to school you in front of everybody? This is going to be embarrassing. But okay. If you want it.
He never ran for 1,000 yards in college.
Here you go. This is what you want.
He's a grinder up the middle who doesn't catch the football and probably can't get any more than 6 or 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, Pacheco, you think only gets 6 or 7 touchdowns? Scott, he could do that in a 3-game stretch.
Running backs only ran for 10 total last year.
Well,
for Kansas City.
Scott, the thing is, Scott, they rotated him. So you can't really have a complaint. Look at his game log, Scott. This is his game log right here, okay? You can see the green, or you can see the targets down the side. He literally wasn't used in the beginning of the season, okay? So you start talking about reception totals. He still got 2, 3, 1, 1, 2. He was still getting them at the end of the season. They started to throw to Pacheco. So there's that, okay? They started to use him at the tail end of the season. It wasn't like he was getting used until week 10. Once they started using him in week 10, Scott, he had 4 touchdowns from about the week 12, so he started, actually it was more along the lines of, week 10, week 11. He had 2 touchdowns in weeks 12 and 13 back-to-back. He had 2 touchdowns in weeks 17 and 18 back-to-back. And what's real important, Scott, is the way he looked coming out of the playoffs and how much they started to lean on him and how good he looked in that final stretch. And McKinnon's a key component because if you look at McKinnon,
he's still fresh.
What?
He played half the season. He was still fresh.
So you just come up with an excuse. Every time you get hit with any sort of stat or fact, you just come around and try and make up something else. What about McKinnon's? What about McKinnon's? Okay, but what about McKinnon's 100? Let me show you something because you keep saying things like they only run for so many touchdowns. He's not gonna have 10. He's gonna have 6 touchdowns. Which Scott, he's gonna have more than 6 touchdowns. I can tell you that right now. McKinnon and Pacheco in 17 starts, isolated starts, because you're going to know which one to play. But even if we just said Pacheco's going to run for probably 10 touchdowns. But here's the receiving numbers for McKinnon. This is McKinnon's receiving game log. So you're just going to discount and discredit what this guy did. You're going to act like if maybe McKinnon's continues to get used in the PPR game, maybe Pacheco doesn't get the receptions that we want him to get, but you're going to be using McKinnon then. Look at McKinnon's receiving numbers, Scott. They're on screen for you. Week 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. Okay? Let's take a look at just the end portion of McKinnon's game log. He had 112 receptions, or actually, let's go back one more week. He had a touchdown in week number 13, Scott. I'm not skipping anything. The next week, week number 14, 2 touchdowns, Scott, receiving. The next week, Scott, a touchdown. The next week, Scott, a touchdown. Scott, the next week, 2 touchdowns. Scott, the next week, a touchdown.
The dude had 56 receptions and scored 9 touchdowns. That's 1 in every 6 catch. That is
Scott, did you just listen to what I said? Scott, did you just listen to what I said?
Fluky run.
This guy doesn't hear anything.
That's not going to happen.
I got to go.
I'm sorry. If you start McKinnon any week, your team sucks.
Scott, is this a fluke right here? Explain to me. 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown. How is this a fluke? How is this a fluke? How is this a fluke?
3, 4, 5, 6, 8. 8 touchdowns and how many receptions? 9, 20, 27 receptions, and he had 8 touchdowns. That's a complete fluke.
This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Scott, 2 receptions, 7 receptions, 8 receptions, 3 receptions, 5 receptions, 2 receptions. What are you talking about? He was an absolute monster.
9, 8 is 17, 3 is 20, 5 is 25, 2 is 27 receptions, and he had 8 touchdowns and 27 receptions. That guy can't.
I love how when you give Scott facts, he just says those facts can't be repeated. He wants numbers. He wants numbers. Then when you give him numbers, he says they can't be repeated.
And you can't. There isn't anybody else scoring 8 touchdowns on 27 receptions.
Scott, you get one more X and they're booting you. This is crazy. Scott, you're by yourself about 99% of the time. How's that feel? Like you call in and you think you're working me over with your take and no one agrees with you. Every time no one agrees with you.
Okay, I tell you what. Somebody out there find somebody else who had 8 touchdowns and 27 receptions in the last 2 decades.
Call terminated.
Some people you can't reason with. You just can't reason with. You show them the numbers. Does anybody not look at Pacheco's stat line and literally just start drooling? That doesn't start drooling. Look at these numbers. They're unbelievable. So the question would be, are you playing both of them? Is McKinnon going to continue to do this? If he doesn't, Pacheco's picking a lot of it up. That's the whole point. And if Pacheco doesn't pick it up and he does a lot of damage on the ground, which we all think he's going to score 7 to 12 touchdowns probably if he's starting 16, 17 games, he's going to explode. McKinnon, these numbers are insane. If McKinnon isn't the same guy and they don't lean on him almost to the tune of a separate flex play. This is a flex play you could play alongside of Pacheco if he's doing this kind of receiving damage. But if he doesn't have it left in the tank, he's 31 years old, that's your argument, then a lot of these numbers shift over to Pacheco. These numbers are crazy. These numbers are crazy. What's even more crazy is if you combine, like I said, Pacheco and McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, when it was very evident as to who was going to be starting, and you take Pacheco or you take Clyde Edwards-Helaire's first 3 or 4 games, you take McKinnon's next 5 or whatever 6 games, all the way down to McKinnon's week. He had 32 points in week 14, 34 points in week 15. Then you switch on over to Pacheco. You have a top 6 running back, fantasy football wise. And some might say, well, yeah, but how are you going to predict each week what to do? The whole point is that it doesn't feel like it's going to be as potentially rotational as it has been in the past. It feels like the team believes in Pacheco. Pacheco is him to that team, to the Kansas City Chiefs. We feel that way. We feel like they've mixed and rotated around to find their guy, and now they've got him. And he's injury prone potentially because he runs so hard, and that's why you need the combination. And because McKinnon did what he just did, what I just showed you on screen, unbelievable receiving stats that just make you drool and say to yourself, okay, I understand why he was the number 1 running back in week 14, and I believe the number 1 running back in week 15 as well. In all of fantasy football, he was at least top 2, depending on your scoring. McKinnon was number 1 or number 2 in back-to-back weeks in week number 14 and 15 against the Broncos and then against the Texans, because he had 32 points and 34 points in those back-to-back weeks. He had, in week number 13, he had 51 yards on the ground. Or no, I'm sorry, week 14, he had 22 yards only rushing. 7 receptions for 112 and 2 scores. In week 15, he had 52 yards and a touchdown, 8 receptions for 70 yards and a touchdown. He had 4 touchdowns in a 2-game span. McKinnon's a monster. McKinnon's a monster. Absolutely love him. And I love that you can get him standalone, but the combination's vital. Oscar, did you have anything you want to add to this, or another question, or another player in this kind of 5th, 6th round, 7th round? Is he good? Should I grab him since?
Yeah, I actually had another question, more so on the dynasty perspective. I'm trying to cook up a trade here to see if I can cuff Pacheco as well as upgrade my wide receiver room.
All right.
I just wanted to hear your thoughts on this trade.
Okay.
So I would send, or I'm looking to send JT and Mike Evans for Pacheco and Jamar Chase.
JT.
And this isn't a
JT and Evans. For Pacheco and Chase.
Yeah, and this is in a dynasty superflex.
I would say only do this trade if you like winning. Chase and Pacheco over JT and Evans is got him as you can get him.
Got him.
Okay.
Because think about it, bro. Look, as much as I like JT, Pacheco could outscore him. There's a world where he could outscore him. Would I draft Pacheco anywhere near JT? No, we just got through saying Pacheco's a 5th or a 6th or really a 6th or a 7th round pick. JT's going around 2, and I'm really skeptical about that value, that return on investment. So, I mean, like, of course, the advantage is here when you compare these two, and if you were to trade them, even if I quietly liked Pacheco more, you'd want to get a ton. You're getting a ton. Evans is in a horrible situation. He's had 1,000 yards season after 1,000 yard season, which a lot of people feel is going to be the year that he doesn't get it done. Chase is the 1.1 overall in my book, and you're getting a replacement for JT that's way, way, way closer than this drop off right here. And this is dynasty as well.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so it's a smash. It's an absolute smash. It's the smash above all smashes, bro. I mean, it's easy. That's light work. That's veto material. Thank you, Vampy, for dropping the marker fund. He's $4.99 marker fund. Appreciate you dropping the $4.99. Vampy to the moon. Ron, you're back. Ron, you agree Smitty approved this trade, right? Pacheco Chase for his...
Oh, definitely. I'd take that all day long.
That's as got him as you can get.
Got him.
Yep. That's a heck of a trade.
Yeah. And now let me here's the follow-up question. Here's the follow-up question though. Is this something you just cooked up in your own little world and this actually is not on the table because he's probably going to reject it?
Yeah.
So you might not be getting him after all.
Got him.
Now, that being said, though, let's say if he doesn't go for Chase, would going for Amon-Ra be a good backup? So doing that same thing, but trading away Amon-Ra instead of Chase?
That makes it a lot closer to where. So, but let me put St. Brown in here and let's get the chat vote. I would rather have St. Brown and Pacheco over JT and Evans. Yeah, in Dynasty, yeah, definitely. But it definitely it's almost like someone, lifting. Like you put this all on the scale and it weighed 110 pounds earlier and now it weighs 80. It's disappointing. It's like kicking me right in the nuts. To just take Chase out of that. But if you would have just approached me with this without, teasing me with the Jamar Chase situation, I would have probably still said, yeah, you got to do that because think about this. You're drafting St. Brown over JT in Dynasty, and that's just me. Maybe you don't. I do. Because I don't know. JT's a running back. It's not like he's, guarantee of anything right now because we're worried about him. But Pacheco over Evans all day long for me in Dynasty, all day long. So this is still a big win. But boy, that would be nice if that was an actual offer that someone sent you because I doubt he's accepting that other one. But try. You never know, bro. You could be coming back tomorrow going, Smitty, he accepted that trade offer. And I'm going to be like, what?
Yeah, because I know in this case, they're running back needing team. So Pacheco is their RB1 right now. So I figured, sending more of a top tier RB1 at the same time trying to get, an improvement on my wide receiver room.
Yeah.
There
is a risk. So. There is a risk that JT bounces back. Like, is there a possibility that he's the number one overall running back in 2023? Like, the answer is still there's a possibility. He's not in my top 5, but keep in mind that we're 1 year removed where he got injured and had no ability to prove that he's still the running back one. So it's easy to.
There is a risk he bounces back.
Hey, who's got that? Is that Scott with the volume up? What's going on there, Scott? Turn that down.
It's off.
Okay. Is there a risk where JT ends up being the number one again? I mean, yeah. So know that could happen, but I'm taking that all day long. So yeah, Scott, you're back. I'm sorry the people spoke. It's they couldn't hear any more of it. There's only so much they can hear of Scott. Scott, you're definitely like a spoiled wine, like a spoiled wine that somebody's got they kind of like it. They want a little bit of it, but then they boot you off really quickly because they just can't take so much of it.
Well, what are you gonna do?
Call back like you did. Let's talk about JT real quick since we're on the topic.
Let's see how much more trouble I could cause.
Yeah, well, hey, let's start with Scott. Scott, how do you like Jonathan Taylor this year?
Yeah, JT is one of those guys that I couldn't believe that people wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The guy, what was he, 43 yards short in his sophomore season of having 3 straight 2,000-yard seasons?
I'm not asking about the past. I'm asking about 20. Scott, I'm not asking about you in your previous league when you're drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire and JT. I'm asking about, do you like Jonathan Taylor in 2023?
Well, what I'm pointing out is that I think Jonathan Taylor's a freak, but so yeah, anything's possible with him as far as this year goes. But as far as that trade, he should definitely do that because you have to figure St. Brown has eight strong years in front of him still.
See, you cease to amaze me though. Like here you are crapping all over Pacheco, but yet somehow you view him as a zero, and you still want to do this trade. Like you cease to amaze me. You know, and now you're going to probably come back and say, I like Pacheco.
You have to figure that JT only has maybe, 4 years left
He's got,
of prime running?
He's now going to say, I like Pacheco after he just crapped all over him.
I don't think he's a long-term running back. He'll be a backup.
That's why you're cuffing the situation, pal. That's why. And this isn't necessarily a dynasty take. This is a 2023 take. This take you came into, the Moonmen take. This isn't a dynasty example. It would be differently in dynasty. I know, but you
just think Pacheco
you somehow think this KC running back.
He's a great value in round 8.
You somehow think this KC running back isn't going to produce this year. And I don't know. I don't even understand that. It doesn't even compute with me, Scott. This is you're locking it down.
It's just Pacheco has
Pacheco.
He isn't Jonathan Taylor. He isn't going to put those kind of numbers up. And he's a great value in round 8, but I don't think he's a Mars man or a Moon.
Well, you let me decide who a Mars man and Moon man are. You don't get to decide that, so don't worry about it.
You do get to decide it.
I do. Show. Right here. Here you go.
The Moon man.
I just don't
dropping loads and out.
I don't think he's a league winner. I think he's a nice compliment.
Scott,
a nice guy to be able to.
Scott, you put together 17 KC running back starts. You don't use the comp. You don't overlap them. You only get to pick one each week. If you go back in last year's game logs, this is a top. I think this was running back 6. This is running back. I believe it was 6. If I remember my video correctly, I'll have to go back. I did a video on it. Running back 6, Steven. And it was very clear to know who to start each week. Clyde was the clear starter in week 1, 2, 3. And then when they switched over, it was very, very clear. And then when McKinnon was used, it was very clear. It was, and there's some overlap that you would want to use that I'm not allowing you to use. You could only use 17 starts from last year. And if you look at 17 starts, it was running back 6.
He's never shown massive talent at any level.
Okay.
His college career, he never ran for 1,000 yards. I think the most he ever ran was like 750.
Dude, this isn't college. This is the NFL. Quit talking about college. Jesus.
Well, I'm just pointing out. It's
not college. Quit pointing on college. There's so many players that come out of college that don't do good in college or do good in college and crap out in the NFL and vice versa. So quit bringing up college. Damn. Just stick to the point. You know, you talked about another running back. Walker scored 9. He only received 20-something. We had that conversation too. Walker's another one that's a great running back. So quit bagging on Pacheco, who was a rookie last year, who scored 10 touchdowns, and you're gonna bag on him because he was a rookie and he scored 10 freaking touchdowns. Come on,
10.
Come on, 5. Get real, dude. You're living like in La La Land or something.
5 touchdowns last year.
Watch the playoffs.
Scott.
You don't remember the run from the playoffs, do you?
He scored 5 touchdowns. He's just he's nice. He's not going to get you any receptions because McKinnon's there. I don't think he wins you a league.
Rock out. You're live. What can we do for you, Rock out?
Like, who was the bell cow in the playoffs? It was Pacheco, and he's going to get even more work. And McKinnon is going to be a hit. It's going to be a part of that. But Pacheco is going to go to the moon with that work he got in the playoffs moving forward.
I agree. Look, Scott, we can't all see it coming. I get it. You know, that's what I'm here for, Scott. Although I don't know that you allow me to do my job in terms of delivering you content. I think you watch the show. I don't think you hear the show. I think you watch it, but you don't really pay attention or absorb it because I'm trying to tell you that I'm crawling up to the corner, Scott, on my arms, scraping them on the pavement, looking around the curve for you, and I'm telling you what I see. Around the curve is the new Isiah Pacheco. The man is an insane running back with determination and grit, finally getting an opportunity in quite arguably the best offense he could be in. And we just saw what McKinnon did in the receiving department. And you could try and say that Pacheco's not going to get any of that. And you could continue to say that McKinnon 31 is going to play 17 games and absorb all the receiving production. Or you could say, hey, the playoffs, this guy Pacheco kind of went nuts. And the news is, and everything, from camp is indicating that they really believe in him. They really believe in him. And they're going to turn to him this year in a different way, not rotational, we're going to put in the hot hand. They really want Pacheco in there. And he runs so aggressively that I worry about injury. That's just one red flag, but that's why you're cuffing him to a guy that scored number 1 in fantasy football for 2 straight weeks in a row. More than McCaffrey, more than anybody. This guy McKinnon was the number 1 running back. The combination safe. And as I said, if you can afford to even cuff the third guy just to be ultra safe, make sure you're in a deep bench league. If you've got 5 bench spots, you might not even be able to go near this. You might say, hey, this is the one I'm going to use. This strategy, the Pacheco and McKinnon strategy, I'm going to use in a league with a deeper bench, and I'm going to do a different strategy in this other league. So you got to be smart with your own details. But McKinnon Pacheco is as safe as it gets in that 6-7 round territory for Pacheco and double-digit round for McKinnon. And Scott, this is not one of those picks where, you're taking him in the second round and we're predicting. This is all of his risk is baked in. If even he doesn't do what I say, he's going to trip and fall into 6th, 7th round ROI. His return on investment will almost be, if he plays even remotely close to a full season, or both these guys do combined, 7th round value, 6th round value, absolutely can return that ROI, tripping and falling. I could be embarrassed. I could put this bag on my head in shame all show long in week 10, let's say, when he doesn't deliver, and he's still going to get you back 7th round value. Like, it's baked in. That's the definition of baked in. That's what some of these predictions are, Scott. They're baked in. All right, Ninja, you're live.
Hey, Smitty, appreciate you having me on. I just want to say I appreciate Scott's contributions to the show, though, because it's just so entertaining to see the banter between you and him, and you're striking his ass out like almost every stream now, which is great. I just want to say appreciate you, Scott, and your perspective, because I think Pacheco's going to kill it this year. His ADP is going to get higher the closer we get to the season beginning. You definitely want to handcuff him, though, because he does run hard, and that could lead to injury. I'd say definitely 7 touchdowns for sure baked in. I don't know what the underdog line is, but I'm smashing it over 5 for touchdowns.
It's
for
5.
Pacheco.
I think it's 5, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Scott will say take the under. No, Scott actually surprises me. After he rips on a guy, he usually agrees with the line. He's like, yeah, I wouldn't. Pacheco's not a good guy. 5 touchdowns? Yeah, I'd take the over.
Well, I would. He had 5 last year. Just get going for something.
You're the only guy that agrees with us after we blast you to pieces, and you somehow find a way to be like, oh, I like him.
I never said he was terrible. In the 7th round, he's a great pick. I just
that's where he's going. That's where he's going, Scott.
No, I see where you're coming from, though. He hasn't proven.
I don't hear what he's coming from, though, because he was saying 8th round. Now he's creeping into 7, and that's where he's going. You just said out of your own mouth, Scott, he's a great pick in round 7. That's what this show's about. He's a great pick in round 7. You can win a league because of it. You just said great. You didn't say good. You said great, Scott. You just said great, Scott. Great, Scott. He's a good pick in round 7. Great.
The best is 5th round talent.
Well, but you just said he was a great pick in round 7, Scott. You're contradicting yourself.
value there, and it depends on how you draft. I'm drafting with Hero RB.
Okay.
So,
all right. Let's move on.
He's on my radar as that second running back or whatever. I'm starting a slow draft tomorrow that has one running back, 2 receivers, 2 flex, and then the rest of the usual.
Okay.
And there's a decent shot that he gets picked up as that backup running back.
All right. Just to understand, how do you know who to start? McKinnon's getting older, I guess. I mean, you'll know because Pacheco's the starter. Like, he's the starter. If you're going to start McKinnon, you'd be starting him in your flex spot. You're not, unless some injury happens to Pacheco. He's coming out of the 2023 or 2022 playoffs, with the job.
McKinnon.
No, Pacheco. So Pacheco's
coming into the offseason as a starter now instead of a
hold
rookie
on.
7th round pick.
Hold on, Scott. What did you just say? You don't think Pacheco's the starter?
No, I think Pacheco's fine to draft. McKinnon to
Finish
me
him.
Completely.
Call term.
I've had enough right now. Scott, call back in a little bit. I do appreciate you, but there's only so much I could take.
Draft Pacheco, or would you draft? Which one would you draft?
I hung up
Pacheco
on him.
Damian Pierce.
I hung up on him.
Which one?
He's gone.
I want to know.
Yeah, he's gone. Scott, Scott's calling in right now. Scott, I do appreciate you. I don't want you to think I don't want you on the show, but there's only so much I can take. Otherwise, it becomes you and I arguing the entire show.
I want to know which one he would draft: Damian Pierce or Pacheco.
Okay, last question, and then I'm deucing you off the show for now. I can only take so much. I do need a little Scott in my life, pretty much once every day, but it needs to be short lived. Scott, answer the question first, Ron Navy, if you could, please. Pacheco. I'm sorry. What did you say, Ron? You ask him.
Pacheco, Damian Pierce. Which one would you rather draft?
Pacheco. I don't like Pierce at all.
Why don't you like Pierce?
I just
technically get both.
think the offense is there. I don't know. His price is too high for what you're going to get.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Scott.
He's going around Dobbins and that, and there's just no.
All right. Well, Scott, call in tomorrow.
Finish him.
There's just only so much I could take, Otherwise, it does become the Scott show because he's so polarizing. Jack says $5. Here you go, Smitty. Appreciate you, Jack of all trades, dropping a $5 holler right on screen. My boy, Jack. Yeah, see, I don't understand that when he says something like, going against the whole theory of the show tonight is Pacheco, McKinnon together. It's a steal. And McKinnon's free. He's in double-digit rounds, deep in double-digit rounds. He's free. So Pacheco in round 6, 7 is what we're talking about. And Scott just got through wasting a bunch of our time, wasting minutes we'll never get back in our life. And then at the end of it all, like he always does, he does this every time if you've noticed it. After making a big shitstorm all over the place, he comes in and at the end of it says, Pacheco's a great. He didn't say good. He didn't say nice. He said Pacheco's a great pick in round 7. And just wasted like literally 30 minutes of the show because it happens every time. Whatever stance he's taking, he comes back in at the end and agrees with us. I don't even understand it. He said great. Pacheco's a great pick in round 7. What are you even arguing then? It's unbelievable.
We all get it.
All I know is it's Denny season. It's Denny season. Where's Denny at? Denny, you watching? It's Denny season.
Where's
What?
going, Denny?
Where's Florida?
What, Ron?
Where's Florida?
Steven from Florida.
Oh, where is he at, though? Bieniemy helped Pacheco back. Okay, so Isaac makes a good point. Bieniemy helped Pacheco back, but I think no one's holding anybody back if Andy Reid wants it to happen. So I don't even know how much control Bieniemy had. So, but it's a good point, good question.
Well, he's not there now.
Yeah, good. So that's Isaac's point, is that Pacheco's getting unlocked now. But I don't know. Maybe Bieniemy did have a say in some sort of the rotation. But like, here's the thing. I just feel like if they rotate, you just have the rotation. That's what I'm saying. If you can't have at least the two of them, or maybe even the three of them, if it's CEH or Prince or whoever you want to go after, if you can't house all two or three of them and your bench isn't big, then maybe this isn't the approach for that league. You know, maybe you just grab McKinnon, like Ron said earlier. You can do that. But I think that if you are smart about it, you can stay ahead of the Prince and CEH cuffing. If you need to swing in and do that real quick, you will know there's a good amount of time and lead on what's going to happen. It doesn't just, one of them pop off and then I don't know. It's pretty clear and pretty evident. Like if Pacheco got banged up, McKinnon would be in there. Then you might want to scoop up the backup and cuff to McKinnon. But I think coming out of the playoffs, it's really clear as day that Pacheco is going to get the opportunity that we kind of been wanting one of the running backs to get fed for a while. And Pacheco is such a hard-nosed runner that I think he performs tremendously. And you're not going to take out a guy that punches in 5 touchdowns in the first 7 games of the season. I think he hits that underdog line by midseason. I do. I think by week 8, he scores that 5+ touchdowns.
Yeah, last year McKinnon was on fire, and then as soon as they started using Pacheco, they went away from McKinnon. Pacheco became the fire guy on fire, and McKinnon kind of just wasn't there at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jack says P check for me to the championship last year. Pacheco. P check. Doing P check things. Where's Denny? Denny. I'm wearing my Denny shirt. Are you calling in, pal? We're waiting for you. All right, phone lines are open. Phone lines are open if anybody wants to get on.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
All right, what's up? What else you guys got? What other? Throw out a couple names like a J.K. Dobbins, for example, which if Scott were here, I wouldn't bring it up because I don't want to hear him talk about it. Hearing Scott talk about J.K. makes me not want to root for J.K. But I do like J.K. I like J.K. at a certain territory, but he fits the bill in this in the weeds, the 6th, 7th round, even late 5th round. I think we can include. But J.K. Dobbins is a guy that has that potential. I think Swift. I think Kamara. Who are some other names we don't really bring up a lot? And unless you want to talk about JK, like, is there a player, especially like a running back or wide receiver? We know Fields and T. Law are the guys quarterback wise, but is there a running back or running back specifically in that 5, 6, 7, 8 territory that you feel like is a steal that people are going to maybe even have win a league moments with?
Not in that territory, but I think Evan Hall's going to win leagues if people take him. I think he's going to get utilized, especially if something happens to Taylor, JT. I think Evan Hall's going to be the guy.
See,
I think he's going to surprise a lot of people.
Big fan of him. I'm not a big fan. I don't know if he just irked me by running every single touchdown in during the combine.
I think he did. I think he did.
I think that rubbed me the wrong way.
Look,
I felt like.
Take a good look at him, though. Take a good look at him. You get him for free.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could get a lot of people for free. Yeah, I'd much rather.
What you want.
I'd much rather take Deuce Vaughn. I'd take Deuce Vaughn over him.
I wouldn't take him in redraft, but in best ball, he's the guy that you want, that nobody's going to draft. He's a differential that hardly anybody's going to have him on their team. And if he does what I think he could do, he's a league winner.
I would agree with you to find those guys. He isn't the one that I think that, to me, it's going to be a wasted pick. I'd rather get Deuce Vaughn, and he's going undrafted in a lot of cases too, because he's always like my 18th, 17th round pick, and I got to scroll a little ways on the RBs, even in the 18th round sometimes, to find him. I think Tank Bigsby is more of a. He's not in the weeds. He's much further past. He's in the double-digit territory, really. But Tank Bigsby, to me, and Kendre Miller, I think those are two guys. And Kendre, you guys know how much I like drafting Alvin Kamara, but I'm drafting Kendre Miller almost all the time with him. And so I think between the two of them, I'm going to get something special out of this Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller stack. And the Tank Bigsby, as much as I love ETN, this is a guy standalone that I'm taking a lot because he's such a hard runner. And if let's say ETN went down, they wouldn't be afraid to feed him. And they'd feed him a lot. They'd pass to him. They'd throw to, that he'd definitely catch passes. He'd definitely be their goal line guy. He's a tough runner. These would be two guys that are well past the weed territory that I feel like are phenomenal players to scoop up. I think Khalil Herbert is a guy we should be talking about. I think Khalil Herbert he's a guy that I could see, I'm going to add one more Moon Man. I wouldn't be shocked if I added this guy before the buzz started kicking into gear. Because I have a feeling that the moment the Bears anoint him the starter publicly, or there's some sort of news on it, that everyone's going to rush to Khalil Herbert and treat him like Alexander Mattison. And Alexander Mattison is a 5th or 6th round pick. Khalil Herbert is really far down there. I want to say his ADP is in the 120 range, and he's running back like 40. Yep. So could he climb up to about 80 overall? I think he could go from 140 to 80 in a snap. Just like that. I don't know, guys, if you guys remember Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin was a 6th or 7th or 8th round pick by early February, March, or whatever, the year he broke out. And I went ahead.
That was in San Francisco, right?
No, in Tampa. Hold on one second. Hey, caller, who's this? You're calling from the Oh, I think he hung up.
Wasn't Godwin drafted by San Fran, though? That's what I'm saying.
Well, what I'm saying is the year he broke out, Godwin was going in the 6th or 7th round. And what I was trying to say is when that was like February, March, and I had him as a bold prediction. Like, hey, I think it's when I started my channel even. But I was like, hey, go after Godwin. He's a 6th or 7th round pick. He's going to be phenomenal. He's going to have upside to be a wide receiver 1 potentially. He's a breakout. And you could get him for a steal. And a lot of people kind of like the prediction. They're like, this is good. Well, they came out, and that staff came out. I think it was something along the lines of like he could catch 100 balls. I think was the phrase that was used by his offensive coordinator, or maybe it was his coach. But offensive coordinator, I believe, said he could catch 100 balls this year. That one statement made Chris Godwin climb from round 6 or 7. Just that one statement. It wasn't production. It wasn't anything you saw on the field. Literally climbed up to, I believe it was 3rd round, like 3rd round territory. And people kind of thought Godwin couldn't climb any higher. And everybody jumped ship about that point, saying, okay, that's about, thinking, oh, he can't climb any higher. He did climb higher. He played a lot better than 3rd round value. But my point is that words are powerful. And if Khalil Herbert gets some sort of like public acknowledgement by his coaching staff to say, hey, look, Khalil Herbert was the number 1, and he was the number 1 running back in the National Football League last year in yards per carry. And he had, what did Khalil Herbert have? It was like 700 yards rushing. It wasn't like he was a guy that when somebody is the number 1 running back in the league in a stat, but they only had 100 yards. This is not that. He had 731 and 4 touchdowns. And he averaged more yards per carry, I believe 5.7, than any other running back in the National Football League. So if the coaching staff comes out and says something like, this guy was number 1 in the National Football League in yards per carry, he's our starter, then all of a sudden he's going from 140 to 80 or 90 overall. So he's definitely a player that I feel lives in the weeds of fantasy football value, and no one knows how tall he is.
Yeah, I was mistaken. I thought he was never on San Francisco. Who was it? Was a similar name though that was on San Francisco. I can't.
Goodwin. You're thinking of Goodwin.
Yeah, I was thinking of Goodwin.
Yeah, no, Chris Godwin. Yeah, I was wondering what you were talking about. I'm like, what's Ron saying?
Yeah, I was in the head that one.
Another running back that comes to mind that has, he's sitting in that territory. I mean, obviously Charbonnet's one. Let's see here. I mean, Dameon Pierce is one. He's living in about 70 overall. I think Miles Sanders is too high. I think Miles Sanders, to me, shouldn't be above Pacheco, and he's above Pacheco by 1, 2, 3, 4 draft slots, RB draft slots. 4 RBs are ADP-wise ranked above him. I think that Miles Sanders should be below Dameon Pierce. It's not that I don't like Miles Sanders or see the appeal, but I don't know. I feel like, can he hold up? He's been inconsistent before. He's disappointed before. He's going to a new situation. He's going to a very raw and undeveloped situation. And we don't even know how well they'll move the chains over there in Carolina. So
they did great last year, and Foreman's still there, right? So it's not like he has to carry the whole load. I think Sanders will do fine. I'm not worried about him, but you might be right.
Foreman's in Chicago. Foreman's in Chicago, but
or who's
Hubbard? How about Hubbard?
Yeah, Hubbard. Hubbard's not going to be a threat, really. Maybe PPR threat though, but
they did good last year. Hubbard and Foreman.
Yeah, I just don't like Miles Sanders at his ADP. Not above Pacheco, not above Pierce. Like if he fell like maybe 4 or 5 draft slots, I could understand it, but I'd rather go after Pacheco. I'd rather go after Swift. I'd rather go after Kamara and then get Kendra Miller. I'd rather have honestly, I think Monty's very, very close to Miles Sanders. I think Monty's going to be, as much as I talk up Gibbs, it doesn't mean Monty can't have 1,000 yards even and 6 or 7 touchdowns and not hamper Gibbs one single bit. So Monty's maybe a safer option in some respects. Scuba Steve, you're live.
Hey, Smitty, what's going on, my man?
What's up? And then Biagio, you're next.
Nothing. I came right into to listening to you because you're talking about late round quarterbacks. Late round running backs.
Yeah.
If you decided to go like which one called 0 RB, who are those like some of the guys that you would target, like a Khalil Herbert or Alexander Madison, like those types of guys?
Yeah, I mean Madison goes a little higher than, he's going like 2 spots below Kenneth Walker, which is crazy. So I don't know if that Madison qualifies as a late running back grab, and I'd rather get Kenneth Walker. So if we're starting our 0 RB approach and Walker's sitting there, then that doesn't even feel like a 0 RB approach. That feels like you stole away a running back 1. You know what I mean? And he's only 2 spots different. So JK's a little high. Madison's a little high. JK too. Those guys don't qualify in my mind as like 0 RB running backs. I feel like Pierce is the beginnings of that. Swift, Pacheco, the Camaro, Kendra Miller, Charbonnet. Like those are the guys I guess I would say. But if you can land a Walker as your first RB and go, technically speaking, 0 RB through round 4, and you get Walker at the top of 5, that's a home run. That's a home run potential move. But Pacheco would probably be my favorite 0 running back RB1. If you're talking true, you're ignoring running back through 5 rounds. That's a lot of people define it differently. But if you're going no running back until round 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then Pacheco is my top target, because I feel like you get McKinnon and you literally have what is arguably the safest running back 1 potential running back 1, so top 10 to 12 running back territory in fantasy when you get that late. I don't know that there's that many players that are available past round 6 that have the ability to be a top 10 running back, and Pacheco does.
What about Dameon Pierce? Does he qualify into that?
I just said that. Yeah.
Not Pacheco. I'm sorry, Dameon Pierce. I'm sorry, I said the name wrong. Dameon Pierce.
I just said that. Yeah, he's one of the guys.
Can I hit on this a minute?
Yeah, who's this? Biagio?
The Patrick. Yeah.
Oh, the Patrick. What's up?
Yeah, like a true 0 RB. Now, you're absolutely right as of where Pacheco is going now. I think by the time we're drafting for our leagues late August, that first week in September, right before opening day,
I think he's going to work his way into the end of 5, beginning of 6. So
He could.
he's even going to fall out. He's even going to fall out of that true zero RB. Now, if you're really, truly talking zero RB, it's 4 wide receivers, your quarterback and your tight end. You're not picking a running back till 7. That way, that's when you're looking at, I like Brian Robinson Jr. with Washington. I like Damian Harris. I like Charbonnet in 10. I like, I'm skipping around here, sorry. Robinson in 7, Herbert in 8, Damian Harris in 9, Charbonnet in 10, Kendre Miller, because it's looking more and more that Kamara is going to get a suspension. So Kendre Miller in 9.
What makes you say that, though? Because nothing's really brewing on that at all.
I'm not going to say it's credible. I was watching another show where I forget where he listed the article. It was from one of the people that said that he will be facing at least a 6-game suspension. This was recently.
Yeah, I mean, because I go live. Yeah, but I go live whenever there's any updates on that, and I'm telling you, there's nothing really new that I've found at all, and I'm pretty on top of it. There could be something where someone speculated, and he's certainly gonna get suspended. Like he's certainly gonna get suspended if the trial and everything comes to a conclusion. But the way that it's looking right now, it feels as though this thing's still getting delayed, and I don't know if anything will come of it because of that reason. So when you said it's looking more and more likely, I'm just telling you I don't know that it's looking more likely. There's still a 4 to 6 game threat for sure. But I like Kendre Miller regardless, because if Kamara fell off, and there's a potential he has or will, or he'll be 2 up in his head in terms of all this stuff going on. Kendre Miller's a home run. That's why he's on the screen. But I like your names that you're throwing out. What I would say, if you're not going Pacheco's too high for zero RB, for true zero RB. Once we get down to like 90 overall, I love Javonte, and if you can pair him with P. Ryan, who's going about 10 overall running backs, 5, 6, 7 running back spots below Javonte, 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there. You'd have to do a back-to-back type of thing. But Javonte and P. Ryan would be a phenomenal running back one to grab in a true zero RB sense, where you're not taking a single running back until like the 85, 90 territory. And then, and then Kamara and Kendre, I think that's great. I think Charbonnet, standalone must grab in that situation. I'm not a big fan of Brian Robinson, but I get the appeal and I understand it. Same thing with Damian. I'm not grabbing him, but I understand the appeal. Penny, I'm not going near Penny. He can't stay healthy.
No, right, exactly.
And McKinnon, standalone. I love that. Kendre Miller, Tank Bigsby.
I like
Roshan.
Another standalone. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but another standalone I like now. He might not emerge until maybe week 4, week 5, but I really like Chase Brown too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I haven't even got to him yet because he's down further. Chase Brown, another player I would throw out. So Chase Brown, I would say, Algier's interesting, but I don't, he's just somebody you would cuff to Bijan or grab in a very, very desperate zero RB approach. I think Jerome Ford's kind of appealing if we're going really, really deep.
Yeah.
I think Dwayne McBride and Ty Chandler together is kind of an interesting running back situation because, Madison, there's a likely chance he doesn't start 17 games. Like, this is going to be his first time going out there doing it. Deuce Vaughn, I love.
Another one that's emerging, especially because, quietly James Robinson got released. Pierre Strong, I think, is going to be – every year in New England, there's a second RB name that is credible for weeks. It's hard to pick the weeks that they're fantasy relevant, but this year it will be Pierre Strong.
There's talk about him maybe not even being on the team, though, wasn't there? There was something that came out, I thought, the other day on that.
I don't know who they would keep. I don't know who.
Maybe I'm wrong. Hold on.
I think there's other releasable names. I think the 3 RBs for New England going in will be Stevenson, Strong, and for some reason they love Ty Montgomery.
Yeah.
They got James, too.
Let me see if there's I don't know if there's.
No, they don't have James. They released him.
Let me see if there's something on Pierre Strong. Hold on.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
I feel
Yeah,
like
they released James Robinson. That's why I'm saying Pierre Strong.
Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe. Oh, you know what it was? Is if they brought in Dalvin Cook, they would cut him or something like that. Which I don't think they're bringing in Dalvin Cook. But Pierre Strong's not bad. He's not bad. But yeah, we're getting deep there at that point. So.
No, right. And what I was going to add before you go on to somebody else, somewhere closer to where. Now I think he's a little bit higher. Damn it. He's a little bit higher than Pacheco right now, but I think I'm going to be one of the suckers to bite on Cam Akers this year.
Hey, I get it. Just make sure you cuff him. You can do worse.
There's
but
nobody to cuff him too, though. It's either Kyron Williams, but he did nothing last year, or Zach Evans.
Yeah.
Zach Evans.
I don't know. I'd
and as
take
far as
Evans.
Dameon Pierce, I don't like him at his value. If he drops a little bit, then maybe. But I actually kind of waiting until right around that 10-11 range and grabbing Singletary.
Yeah, I'm not. I think Singletary's had his time. I do like Damian Harris a little bit, but we'll see what happens. James Cook, I feel, is got a lot.
Yeah, well, Singletary's in Houston now.
Yeah, I don't like him in Houston.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Singletary guy. What I was trying to say, sorry, is that he had his time and he couldn't even grab that job. So I don't know that he's going somewhere else to start. James Cook is I think probably I feel like James Cook's probably the best opportunity in Buffalo. I think Damian Harris has got some upside. I do like him a lot, but I don't know. We'll have to see. But if Singletary couldn't cut it with those guys, I mean, how is he going to go to Houston and take a job there? He's definitely dynamic enough to be a guy you plug in with injury, but I don't know.
Something that makes me skeptical about James Cook, because even in college, I was looking at something. I don't think there's a game that he's gone over 14 carries. Like, he's just not that guy. I'm not drafting James Cook anyway.
He was in a committee in college, but I hear what you're saying. Same thing could be said for Gibson and not going near a player that hasn't had the pedigree, proven pedigree. It's definitely understandable. Look, Cook is not somebody I don't think I've drafted James Cook one time. So let me clarify.
Yeah, same here.
But I haven't drafted any Buffalo running back, I think, one time.
Last day, because you were talking about maybe Herbert could be somebody that you might think about adding to the movement.
For sure.
If you do that, I like that, but I think there you would have to do almost a package deal. If you look at the Bears last year, it was either Montgomery or Herbert, but whichever one was on, they was like top 12. Like every week they had like
Roshan will be.
They had a top 12 running back.
Yeah, Roshan will be, and it'll probably be as similar as the Pacheco McKinnon, Charbonnet guy. Walker, because Roshan's that good, and he's a big boy.
Yes.
But Khalil Herbert would be the lead.
In any other draft class, or if he would have played college football anywhere else besides behind Bijan, excuse me, I apologize, won't have it again. But on any other college team, in any other draft class, Roshan is a first or second round pick.
I mean, we will never know, or we might know if he blows up in Chicago. But yeah, all right. Hey, let's go over to let's see, Matt Biaggia.
What's going on, Smitty?
What's up?
Just a couple comments. I like Herbert. I think he's, like you were saying about the yardage, he's extremely dynamic. I just worry about him, I think, holding up. So I do think it will kind of be a split in Chicago. As for Pacheco, great value. Love taking him. I still think I would take Swift over him because I think Swift's more dynamic and, can catch the ball. I think Godwin is definitely the guy in Tampa. because Baker loves to throw to the slot, and he likes to throw to the running back, so I do think Pierce could have Kareem Hunt-type catching value. But all those late running backs you're talking about, I think, are all pretty decent value.
Yeah, I think Swift is such an interesting player to talk about because, you got people like Ron, who's on the line here, who hates Swift. He refuses to draft him, doesn't, in similar fashion, no offense, Ron, but talking to you about Swift's production is like talking to Scott about the Pacheco production. Like, you don't really want to hear it, and I get it. Ron's either going to be Ron's right or the believers in Swift are going to be right. I don't think they'll be anywhere in between. Like, he feels like the kind of guy.
Like, you're drafting Swift, his value is too good. You're not spending what you used to spend on Swift. But these guys got burned.
But you're not gonna get something in between. Like, I acknowledge that the risk is so there for Swift to bust. Ron's either gonna be right or the believers in Swift are gonna be right, because I can just see it now. He either doesn't get used and we're all like, what in the hell? And Ron's correct on it, or he gets injured right away, and we're all fearing that. So it's not like I just don't know why they would have traded for him and brought him in, and given how elusive he is, given how many points per game he scored, given how many points and fantasy points per touch he had, and given that he literally had one of the worst seasons that we thought he had one of the worst seasons, and then you look at his receptions and what he had, 40 something receptions. It was just unbelievable that he did what he did. What he scored 8 total touchdowns, 40 plus receptions, I believe, somewhere around that territory. I'm spitballing off of my memory. That's just an unbelievable year for literally crapping the bed hardcore. Like, Swift crapped the bed as hard as you can crap the bed. And look, we took him early, so he'd fail. He failed no matter what. But, like, to do what he did when he was not even being used, like, man, I can't imagine. If he stays healthy and Philly wants to use him, there's no way he doesn't. He is a top 5 to 10 running back. He's better than
Miles Sanders, too.
He's a top 5 to 10 running back. He's a top 5 to 10 running back if Philly uses him and he stays healthy. There's just no way to argue that. But those are two very big ifs, and they make him risky, but he's kind of got that risk baked in. But he is such an interesting player because the people that believe in him, like me, know how risky he is. Like, I every time I look at him on the Moon Man list, I'm not gonna lie, I look at him and go, is he gonna just shit the bed again? Like, I don't know, but I do know that he feels the number one offensive line in the National Football League, the number one offensive line, and the number one defensive line in the National Football League, and they traded for him. I love the value. I love that you can get him in round 6. I don't know, sometimes 7, I suppose, like, but mostly 6.
I haven't drafted him either, so this would be my first year taking him, but I just feel like I can still survive, if he does crap out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. I think people that argue.
Penny gets you, maybe Penny gets you half a year before he's injured and out, and then Swift gets you the other half.
It's possible. It's possible. I just think that.
All right, Smitty. That's all I got. I'm out.
All right, later. Biaggia. Yeah, I don't know. Scuba, do you like Swift?
Yeah, I think he's pretty good. Given the opportunity, if he does do anything with the Eagles. I mean, it's just tough because both guys are kind of injury prone. I mean, Swift and Rashad Penny, and I mean, I know the Lions. They ended up getting Gibbs, but that was because they gave this guy every opportunity to start, and it seemed like he couldn't handle the workload or something. So I mean, hopefully, with the Eagles, he could end up being something. I don't know.
Yeah, they just didn't like him for whatever reason, too, because he was healthy and back, and they just still didn't use him. But it would be crazy because his touches would be so limited, and he'd have big production. There was a time during last year where we were all very, very disappointed. We all kind of got off the Swift train eventually. We kept hanging on for dear life, and then at the end of the season, we got back on briefly, and then he kind of crapped the bed again. And so, I get where Ron's coming from. I know he doesn't get necessarily where the believers are coming from, But I get where Ron's coming from. But I do believe that the two big risks of will he get the workload, will they feed him, and will he stay healthy are the only problems here. Like talent-wise, elusiveness. I mean, but the one player that comes to mind, and this is a Detroit Lion player too, is Javid Best. Javid Best was every bit as exciting and had every bit as much upside as Swift, and he never could stay healthy, and it never ended up working out. And you know, he does have that kind of feel to him, where it could be one of those things where we just never see it happen. Because if he craps the bed this year, everybody's out. Everyone's going to be double burnt.
Detroit's had bad luck on running backs for years now.
Well, not anymore. Jahmyr Gibbs season, baby.
Yeah, we'll see.
No, we will see. We will see. Gainwell says Ghost. I like Gainwell. They do like Gainwell as well. So like he definitely has an opportunity for sure. Gainwell's not like, you know, out of the equation. So we'll see what happens. Gainwell also hasn't necessarily been the workhorse, you know, back that's you know, had an opportunity to prove he can withstand it either. Now Swift, a lot of people's gripes with Swift are that yes, maybe he did well in Detroit, even though he had a bad year. He pulled in 40 receptions, had the 8 total touchdowns, whatever it was. I think it was 8, right? 8 total touchdowns. And the problem is, Smitty, with your logic, is that you put him over in Philly where they don't throw to the running back. I think to define what Philly's going to do, I think is very, very, I don't know, I don't want to say reckless, but kind of is, like to assume that they aren't going to change and adapt to a player that they specifically went after that is a receiving specialist, like to think they're not going to use him, to think that Hurts can't improve in that area, to think that, you know, everyone said he wasn't accurate, and now 1 year later, everybody loves Jalen Hurts. So I think 1 year is a big, you know, can be a big difference. I think they're going to throw to him more. I think Swift could also line up as a wide receiver and, you know, do similar things that Gibbs is going to do in Detroit. And also, are we ignoring the exciting fact that he's wearing number 0? He's wearing number 0.
That's as many times as I want to draft him.
Yeah, that's either going to be a bad thing or it's going to be a good thing. It's going to be a bad thing or a good thing. Zero seems to be, and I meant to do this. He's wearing number 0. Now, number 0, we got a lot of interesting players wearing number 0, and it seems like a second chance number. You know, you got Ridley wearing 0, you got Swift wearing 0. Both of them trying to, you know, make this comeback. It's going to be interesting if it becomes a cursed number where it's like you don't want anybody wearing a 0 because they drop a 0. Like it's either going to be exciting or it's going to be fitting. What other players are wearing 0?
Things up though, if you look at how they played with the running back with Sanders and all them, Hurts didn't throw the ball to the back very often. I mean, he really didn't.
Well, but that's what I just said, Ron. I just went through that.
I know he would get like, you know, up to 17, 18, sometimes 20 carries per game. He'd get the volume, and but he doesn't get a lot of receptions because that's just not what they do. So there's that to think about too. Philly's got to switch, and Hurts has got to start like throwing to his running backs for Swift to really be, because Swift's not going to hold up like Sanders running the ball up the gut. I mean, he won't survive that.
But that's what I said. That's what I was just saying is that I think when people define Philly's offense and Jalen Hurts and all that, when they had just made that grave mistake the year prior by saying Hurts is bad, the Philly offense is like 1 year's gone by. They look phenomenal now, and everybody's judging everything about them again, like this is what they're going to do, this is how they're going to do it. Like Swift, I don't think they make this trade if they don't intend to utilize him. I think they see Swift as a weapon, and they want a weapon, the ball in a weapon's hands. And I think that Swift could line up in the slot, he could move around, he could motion out as a wide receiver, and then therefore Jalen Hurts is throwing to a wide receiver. So I think he doesn't necessarily have to catch the ball in the flat or in the backfield, you know, to catch passes from Jalen Hurts. I think he could still be all over the field. And so that's one way to look at it, is say, okay, maybe they don't throw to the back in the traditional sense, but they will throw to him as a wide receiver, and that's kind of the whole point of trading for him. But we'll see. And he's the kind of guy that, like you said, you're not going to give him 15 carries a game, but on 7-8 carries and 5 or 6 receptions, he's going to have 100 total yards and a likely shot at a touchdown. Like, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, like I said, I look at him every time on my Moon Man list, and I say to myself, he's either going to burn the hell out of me again, or he's gonna be an absolute gem. But it's going to be one or the other. I don't think it'll be something in between. I think he's either going to fall flat on his face, and Ron, you're going to come in here laughing a lot, which is fine. But I like him.
I didn't laugh last year. I just said he was going to be a bust.
Well,
I didn't like laugh about it.
I think he's gonna be one or the other. We'll see. Who else is wearing number 0? You got Calvin Ridley. You got DeAndre Swift. Anybody remember? Someone in the chat, if you know, speak up. Guys, I had a sandwich tonight that I might go back and get another one right now at Smash Burger. It was the burnt ends. There's like a steak basically, right? Burnt ends sandwich. It was phenomenal. I'm about to go get another one. CMC played all 17 plus playoffs, says Sacktown. That's a concern for me. Christian McCaffrey, I did a video on it already, but I might do another one just because as we get deeper into like June, July, August, or July, we're going into July. We get into July and August, there's a lot of older content that maybe some of you have seen, but the majority of people filing in haven't. So I'll probably refresh and retouch up on my Christian McCaffrey concerns. But McCaffrey playing, he got banged up a couple times last year to the point where we thought maybe he'd miss time. So it wasn't like he was completely healthy. Like, he got banged up. There was his knee issue. We worried about his knee. And it flared up for a couple weeks. It wasn't like a 1-week thing. It was a constant concern about this knee. I have a very, very bad feeling. You can call a lot of it gut instinct, and that's fine. I acknowledge that I don't have a ton of. I mean, I have the Niners system as evidence. We have the fact that every running back stable gets injured. We have evidence that, the year prior when Deebo Samuel had his breakout year, they had 7 running backs, I believe, on the team. And they went through every single one of them. And Deebo Samuel was the only healthy player running the football that year. Last year, Mitchell continues to get hurt. The whole quarterback room went down. The entire quarterback room went down. Like, there's a lot of evidence, I think, that's fact-based, you could say, that goes against, CMC playing a healthy season. So there is some evidence there. But the whole, Christian McCaffrey's built different, he takes care of his body different, versus the fact that he missed 2 seasons, or he missed a big chunk of majority of the last 2 seasons prior. There is evidence as well of an injury concern. And the fact that he had the knee injury, the fact that Shanahan is either going to run him into the ground and he will get injured, or he's going to rotate his running backs in a frustrating way that makes Christian McCaffrey hard to value at 1 in hindsight, 1 or 2 overall. I just have a real bad feeling about CMC this year from a fantasy perspective. And the fact that we all kind of wrote him off as having 1 year left last year before the trade to San Francisco. I don't know if you remember, but it was like Christian McCaffrey was one of my biggest avoids the second year of his injuries, history. And remember that guy would come into the live stream when Christian McCaffrey was trying to work his way back into the lineup. And he said, Smitty, you're going to be wrong. I forget what his name was. He says, I'm going to be here every day. Christian McCaffrey, running back 1. As soon as he gets back to healthy, he's running back 1. He came back like mid-season, right? This is not last year, the year prior. Came back mid-season, and I said, sell him. Get rid of him. He's back. Everybody thinks he's running back 1 again. What happened? He got hurt again. And so coming out of that year, which was last year, he was not traded to the Niners yet in the beginning of the year. We had a general feel, all of us, the fantasy football community as a whole, not just our channel, that if he did have 1 year left, it was 1 year. And so going to San Francisco is deceiving because it makes you think, oh, well, he's finally in a great system. But the problem is, did he go there at the very tail end of his career? And I don't know. I think that we all wrote him off. We all wrote him off as having just the 1 year left. And now all of a sudden, he's just got, what, another year? We just going to give him another year without any sort of question or concern? I don't know. It just feels weird to me. What do you think, Oscar? Hello?
Hello?
What do you think, Oscar? CMC?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, well, I'm a Niners fan myself, so admittedly, of course, I want him to be at his best. But, you know, prior to that, like you said, that concern of injury, I mean, considering the system we have there at the Niners place, you know, obviously as a fan, I hope it can improve, but track record kind of speaks for itself. So it's just wait and see, I think, in my end. I mean, I think he'll still be able to produce top numbers. It's just a matter of staying healthy, right, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Let's go to Scuba. Scuba, what do you think of CMC?
Hey, Smitty, I think that when it comes to CMC, I think it depends on the Kyle Shanahan offense, because we already seen that he can't really. A lot of the guys that he's put in that system, they all get injured. So I mean, Christian McCaffrey, I mean, a lot broke right for him. We're gonna find out, I guess, this year if Shanahan's offense is gonna break him down.
Yeah, we'll find out. I just think that give me Bijan every time. I mean, I have some shares of McCaffrey, and I'm glad in case I'm wrong, you know, because talent-wise, if he's healthy, I do know he's going to be electric. He hasn't dropped off. It's just more about missing time. But I feel like Bijan is the easy call when you're on the clock, and it's Christian McCaffrey or Bijan. I mean, in Dynasty, it's a no-brainer in Dynasty, but I mean, in redraft, I'm taking Bijan every time. And that's not new. We've had that out for a while now, but I know some people, new people, or people that have been dormant for a while, coming back out. Like people are kind of rushing back to the channel right now. I think around July 4th of July, that's when things start to like double and pick up. Like there'll be a lot of people that have been kind of missing for a while that are going to come back. 4th of July is about the date that happens. So it wouldn't be shocking if July 1, a lot of people rush in July 2. But there are going to be a lot of people in here that say Bijan, number one running back. You know, that they're going to come in and be like, I've been sleeping, you know, for 6 months. I don't know what's going on. Tell me what you're talking about. It's Bijan season, baby. All right, Scuba, I'm gonna see you tonight. We're drafting tonight, pal.
All right, man. Hey, Smitty. Before you hang up on me, I wanted to ask you about him. If he doesn't get suspended. Alvin Kamara, if leading to a lot of people's drafts in September, if they don't really say anything, is he going to be somebody his value is going to shoot up, or is his value going to stay is where he's getting drafted at?
He'll definitely shoot up draft boards if something's known, but if it's still very vague, I bet you people will just assume it's coming. You know, I could see him climbing a little bit, but if like there's some known announcement, like. Or Schefter comes out very vividly and says, I'm being told that there's a delay in his trial and it's going to be picked back up in November, meaning that the conclusion can't happen until after January 1. Therefore, you know, there's going to be no whatever. Like that could be part of what Kamara's plan is. You know what I mean? Like I have to get the attorneys back on the show. I got to get Baked In Boys. If he's watching, call in. If Tony's watching, let me know if you're here, Tony. But I got to get with those guys and talk about what the strategy might be for Kamara. And given he knows he probably has one more year left and he wants to play football, who knows what his intention is, you know, and what he could do legally to delay things more. Because the NFL won't act until there's a conclusion. And so it's in Kamara's best interest to... what Tony thought initially was to go to a speedy trial, right? To get through it fast so that he could get his suspension out of the way and get back on the field as soon as possible while he's still young. But I don't know. I mean, at this point, you got to wonder, like, the NFL is not going to do anything until something concludes. Can it be dragged out? How can it be dragged out? What can he possibly do to make this thing extend until a conclusion can't even be had until after the season, because there is a reasonable argument for a working person to delay things in that light. Like, I've got to work, I have this job, this tremendously hampers my ability to make income and earn money if I can't be on the field. So I want this trial moved, till after the season. Like that, there's arguments to be made for that kind of stuff, in terms of someone's work and employment. I don't know. We'll have to get Tony on to see what's what. But definitely feel like Kamara and Kendre are a fantastic grab right now. Not on the upside of Kamara playing even a full season. That's with my expectation that he misses 4 to 6 games. Like you said, if something's made very known, he'll shoot up to around 4 or 5. Like Kamara would go around 4 or 5. He would go above Madison if there was no threat of suspension. But you'd have to cuff him. Like I don't know that I'd take him there. Where I'm advising everybody to take him is where there's absolutely almost zero risk. Like that, we'd have to reassess that. I don't even know if pro Kamara, anti Kamara as a person. Like, no one's gone live on Kamara more than I. No one said he should be suspended more than I. But I'm still running a business here, and my job is to tell you where value hides. And in 6, 7, 8 round territory, there's zero risk, especially when you cuff him to Kendre. But if he climbed to round 4 or 5, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be advising to take him anymore. Like, that's a whole different ballgame. All right, Scuba, appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'll see you. Call in tonight, man. You have a good night.
Yeah, the link is pinned. Underdog Fantasy will draft tonight. We're going to do the $15 winners, weekly winners draft, which is so awesome. Underdog released a brand new draft series that is probably going to be yearly now. It's awesome. It's called Weekly Winners, and you essentially draft your best ball team like normal. So envision what you do. You get in a draft, 18 rounds, you draft your team, you draft one time. You don't draft weekly, you draft one time. And instead of working all season to get to week 14 and then advancing to the next round and advancing to the next round and then trying to be one of the money winners at the end of week 17. Instead of going through all that, they're paying out $20,000 every single week to first place, and then it resets. Last week doesn't matter. The week before isn't going to matter. The current week is all that matters, and the prizes are unreal considering that concept. Because if you, let me see if I can pull the prizes on screen here. It's called Weekly Winners. Okay, Weekly Winners, $15 an entry. And then here are the prize breakdowns. So this is weekly. So every week, the first place scoring team for that week, for week 1, will get $20,000. The second place scoring team in week 2 out of everybody is going to win $10,000, and so on. And then in week 2, this is the same payout. In week 2, doesn't matter what you did in week 1. Doesn't matter what you're going to do in week 5. Doesn't matter how good your team is on the year. You could literally say, I'm going to draft a team based on the 2 opponents of the Cardinals and the Raiders. Okay, so maybe in week number, I'm just throwing numbers out. I don't even know if these teams have buys in these weeks off the top of my head. Let's just say in week 8, the Cardinals play the Chiefs, and I'm just throwing the ideas out. And some amazing other team plays the Raiders. You literally draft a team around week 8 to try and win $20,000 in week 8, and you could literally care less about the rest, and you hope that you just win one of the other weeks. You literally can strategize around one single week, which makes this so phenomenal because there are so many different avenues to go that everyone's going to have a different idea or concept or a different week they're looking toward. And so it's probably pretty easy to implement some of these strategies. But I'm going to pick through and come up with an idea for you guys. But I'm going to pick through and try and identify a week where there's some weak opponents. The Raiders and the Cardinals defense would be amazing. And see what week 2 teams face those 2 teams and draft a team solely around that. Just draft a team solely around that one single week to try and win $20,000 in that week 8 or week 9 or week 8. So we're drafting on that tonight. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty. Use code Smitty to get $100 bonus match, or hit that link in the live chat or in the description of every video, including this one, to get that $100 bonus match and to be signed up and ready. Because the way it works is we're going to go live. about midnight, maybe 12:30 Eastern. And then we're going to say, okay, everybody signed up. Good. Click the button now. We're all going to go into this draft now. And then we all rush in, and then they fill, and then we draft. So if you're not signed up ahead of time, like right now, you will miss out getting in. Rockout says you sent me a DM. Okay, thank you, Rockout. Appreciate that. Ron, Nate, or actually Oscar, final thoughts. 10 seconds. Go.
Yeah, just one last question I had, just going back to the Pacheco topic. I don't know if you talked about this already or not, but in regards to the injury or the surgery he went through in the offseason, is that of any concern for 2023 or from a long-term perspective, considering dynasty?
Definitely a reason why you cuff, definitely a reason why you cuff. You have to cuff. If you don't cuff. Oh, we got a $20 holler from Isaac. Isaac, you still here, bro? My bad. Let's see here. Ron, I got a couple supers here that didn't come through. Jack dropped that $5, and then hold on. Let me answer that question 1 second. Bryson, are you still here? Isaac, are you still here? I very apologize for that. Trade Chubb for Breece Hall if you have Garrett Wilson. Trade Chubb for Breece Hall if you have Garrett Wilson. I could go either way. If it's redraft, I mean, Chubb is going higher than Breece Hall, not by a ton, but I could understand wanting Chubb in redraft. I really could. I think he's going to have a good year. I like Breece Hall quietly better. Like if I could get something out of it, I would definitely trade Chubb for Breece Hall and something. But I think to trade Breece Hall or trade Chubb for Breece Hall straight up will be you not getting enough with Breece Hall because you should get more, if that makes sense. But in Dynasty, I absolutely want Breece Hall over Chubb. But you just need to get more. And $20 holler from Isaac. Appreciate you, Isaac, for dropping that $20 holler. Let's hit the button. Isaac, are you still here? Yeah, he's still here. Thank God. Poor man just dropped a 20 just a bit ago. Let's celebrate Isaac right now. And thank you, Bryson. Bryson, you still here?
Alert. Super chat alert.
Thank you, Isaac, for dropping that super chat. Appreciate you, my man. Isaac says, Bieniemy acted like a high school coach. Imagine benching Derrick Henry for an entire quarter for fumbling. Imagine having your running back one return kicks and taking him out after getting to the red zone. I think are you talking about Pacheco? I don't know how much Andy Reid had to do with that situation, but I do think Bieniemy, I don't know, I'm hopeful that his aggressiveness can translate and transcend into the offense, and I'm really, really hoping that we see Sam Howell light it up and just get unlocked and see Dotson, pull in an amazing wide receiver one season. Just can't wait for it. But I think you're referring to Pacheco's usage, and it sounds like Isaac is pro Pacheco, which I agree with, and I very much we're lockstep on that. Rockout, thank you for that super chat. Terry Roberts dropping a $2. What are your thoughts on Chase Brown, Smitty? I love him a lot, Terry. Good question. Mixon needs to get cut in order for him to have instant value. Mixon needs to not want to get a pay cut and just get released, which is not in his benefit. I'm sure he's going to nudge his salary down, unfortunately for him, to a point where he still feels like he couldn't get that on the open market and be in a system that he knows and then could get a shot to start. So ultimately, I think they keep him because he'd have to be a complete moron, which, I mean, he'd have to be a complete moron to want to be released and not just get his salary put a little bit above what he thinks he'd get on the fair market anyway, rather than go through the mess and learn a new offense. And he's not going to get signed to start anywhere. So he would be an idiot to not try and figure out how to stay on the team. And I believe they'll figure it out. But so if that happens and Mixon stays on the roster, because he will have to take a pay cut or they will cut him, Chase Brown's dependent on all of that. If they cut him, then Chase Brown to the moon. They probably still would look at bringing like a Fournette or Zeke in, maybe Dalvin Cook. So we have to check into that. They could also trade for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which I think Joe Burrow would love. So there's a lot of moving parts to it. But for right now, at his ADP, Terry, which is in insanely double-digit territory, like deep into double digits. It's a home run, a no-brainer, a definite add on your roster. Love him, bro. Isaac said KC running backs to the moon with Bieniemy gone, and I can't disagree. I don't, again, know how much control he had. Reed controlled a lot, but I do think that you're going to see Pacheco get used a ton, so agree with you. Bryson, I don't know if Bryson's here anymore. Bryson, are you still here? I don't know if Bryson's here, but Bryson, appreciate your super chat, my man. Oscar, to answer your question, I think you said, am I worried about Pacheco's hand and the shoulder, the surgery? Yes. That's why he's a must cuff. That's why I'm for sure cuffing Pacheco to McKinnon no matter what. However, he's young. I believe everything's been repaired. My concern would be he runs so hard, will he break stuff? Yeah, he could. And that's why McKinnon's the cuff. That's why you're going to monitor even the third running back, Prince or CEH or whoever, just to make sure you're on top of it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, there's a concern. I mean, guy played with a torn shoulder, I believe it was a rotator or a labrum, and a broken hand, but he played. I mean, he's an animal. He gritted it out. He's a total truck, and I'm excited for him. But yeah, there's concern. Oscar, appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, Smitty. Thank you.
Yeah, Patrick, final thoughts, and then I gotta run.
Yeah, just to wrap it up for all the Patriots fans. I don't know if you reported this earlier, but they're definitely making no big splash in free agency. I know somebody called in and said, "Oh, it was to free up $4 million to go get Hopkins." Well, they just signed Juwan Bentley to a 2-year, $18 million deal today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're definitely not making no more signings.
Bro, do you know how many people are in my Instagram DMs? Because I put a post up right before I go. I just can't believe the Patriots. I can't believe the Patriots. I feel so bad for Patriot fans. You guys just flushed your season down the toilet. Signing a wide receiver to a $33 million deal, 3 years. And then everybody acting like I don't know what I'm talking about. Smitty, they freed up $4 million. They freed up like $3 million. However, there's some escalators like in his contract to where his base salary, goes up to 5.7, which it was. It was like 5.7 based on roster bonuses and being on the roster. Like there's a lot that goes into it. The contract is not as simple as they're saving $3.7 million. But $3.7 million isn't bringing you in Hopkins. Like you're going to be able to move around money, and you just spent that money like you just said. And so everybody's in my DMs going, Smitty, this move is to bring in Hopkins. You got to be out of your mind if you think that this team is making $33 million moves at the wide receiver position to still bring in another wide receiver that now you just set the benchmark for, and he's going to want more. You're telling me this is a move to bring in Hopkins? I don't think so. So people are going nuts in my comments right now. And is there a chance that the illogical situation unfolds that people are describing? I suppose, but if so, I'm just going to laugh even harder that this team doesn't know how to bring in talent. Like, I feel so bad for Patriot fans right now. Double tight ends, you've been doing that for years. Gesicki and, now, and I don't hate Gesicki, but these aren't the moves you make to support a quarterback that I already feel is going to bust in Mac Jones. They're not the moves to make, and I don't think Hopkins is headed to the Patriots. I do not think you signed a 3-year, $33 million deal with a wide receiver that's 30 years old that has only had a 1,000-yard season once. You don't sign a 30. It's like one guy in my comments was like, Smitty, you're going to see Parker is going to be amazing. He's going to be, remarkable, and this is like, it's like here on up, Parker is going to go nuts. Like, dude, he's 30 years old. He's 30 years old. Parker ain't going up anywhere. He's not going up. How's Parker going to go up from here? He had 1,000-yard season. You don't sign a wide receiver. I don't care if you're saving on the upfront money initially by restructuring them. You're saving $3.7 million, which isn't really even the case because of the potential incentive escalators. But let's just say you're saving $3.7 million. You're still not going to sign a wide receiver to a 3-year, $33 million deal if you're going to bring in Hopkins. You're not going to do that. It's not going to happen. It's
yeah.
And
then this signing of this linebacker, I mean, Bentley was adequate, but to now be paying him $9 million a year, yeah, they're not going to make any. That rules out Cook. Hopkins was ruled out yesterday. There's just nothing. They're not going to do nothing.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate
you.
you.
Might see Melvin Gordon.
Yeah. All right, later, Patrick. Appreciate you, man.
All
right. Trey Singular, you are on.
Yeah, what's going on?
What's up, Trey Singular?
What's going on, Smitty? Yeah.
Make it quick.
I was going to say it was a great stream. I think a cool component, like I said, I've seen Ron Navy comment on it, how you have people call in. I love the dynamic between you and Scott going back and forth.
It's got to be short, though.
I think
it's got to be one seg. I just want Scott to know, if Scott's watching right now, you will always be hung up on. It can only be one segment. I've had people say exactly what you said. I love Scott coming on, but then if it goes a little long, people say, Smitty, it can't be the Scott show. Please don't do that for very long.
I start thinking Stephen A. Smith and such, and I think it's a great dynamic to the show. I mean, I see you're upgrading everything, and everything looks great. I thought it was it's cool seeing that back and forth.
All right, man. I appreciate you, Trey. Later.
Yeah. Cheers, Schmidt.
Ron Navy, final thoughts.
Well, as CMC stays healthy this year, I mean, he definitely win people leagues. And, if Swift stays healthy, he has the capability of doing the same. But that's the biggest question.
Hey,
I'm more worried about Swift staying healthy than I am CMC.
I couldn't ask for a more like a bigger stretch across the aisle than that, Ron. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna say a word. Ron's growing.
Hey, yeah, well.
I mean, you opened the door to it. You just said there's a little crack there. That's all. That's all I ever wanted. Just like if he stayed healthy, and they used him, he could win a league. But you're saying you still think that if's too big, and I get that. I appreciate that. Ron Navy with a $20 hauler. Hold on, Ron. Ron just dropped a $20 hauler. Ron.
Alert! Super chat alert!
I had to put Ron on hold for Ron. Ron said, bring on the weeklies. Superflex 72% full, won't last much longer. Sorry, I lost my head earlier. That's all right, Ron. Ron, I'll be honest, man. Bye-bye Superflex. I don't even care at this point. We're not doing Superflex drafts tonight. We're doing weeklies, baby. The weeklies are where it's at.
Well, I only got 2 Superflex to go, and I'm maxed out on it anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't do my last 2 because I didn't know if you were going to do Superflex or not. So
maybe we will. Maybe we drop one at the end or something. I don't know. We'll see what happens tonight. But appreciate you, Ron. Thank you for the $20 hauler. And let's get to those weeklies. They're $15 each. They're more. But, I mean, those payouts are insane. $20,000 to first every single week. That's awesome, bro. They had to go to $15 on that to get the payouts in that territory. So I can't wait, bro. $20,000. I don't know. I mean, we're going to come up with so many strategies. Again, tonight, guys, get ready. Link is pinned in the live chat. Link is in the description of every video. The code Smitty or the link that inserts code Smitty for you gets you up to $100 bonus match. So pick your first deposit wisely, because if you pick 100, they'll give you 100. If you do 20, they'll give you 20. The minimum is only $10. So if you can only do the minimum, $10, and then they'll give you $10, and that way off $10 you get to play in one $15 weekly. You draft that, you take that team into the entire season, and each week, if you win that week, you get $20K, and it goes down, $15K, $9K, $10, $8K, whatever. And then you'll have an extra $5 to do one of the $4 Superflex drafts, which is up right now. So you could do 2 drafts right now with a $10 deposit.
The big thing with that, I think, is going to be having probably 2 to 3 guys at the end of your draft that are unique, that are low drafted.
Yeah. Can you? God, I can't wait to dig into some of the matchups. And I know you, Ron, you're very stack and matchup oriented. I think you're going to get into this, but just identifying a certain week where maybe, like let's say Kate, like what I would probably do. This is my early assessment, and it's brand new, so I haven't even had a time to digest it or come with ideas. But my advice to anybody doing a weekly draft right now, my professional assessment, given my experience and seeing all these things pop up and trying them out so much, would be draft a team that can also win multiple weeks without any matchup considerations. So KC Chiefs, we do the KC stack. I went Mahomes, I went Kelsey, I went McKinnon, Pacheco, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, Kadarius Toney. Mix in I shouldn't say mixin. That makes it sound like I'm drafting Joe Mixon. Add in a Kenneth Walker or add in a Chris Olave and another player, because it's not like you have to use all your early draft picks on all those KC guys. You're talking about Kelsey in 1, Mahomes in sometimes 3, but like let's say it's Mahomes in 2, Kelsey in 1. Your third rounder could be Breece Hall. Your fourth rounder could be, you don't have to use those early picks on KC players, but if you accumulate a KC team and then all of a sudden KC has, 5 matchups where they're playing a team that they should just light it up, and if you can somehow try and couple that with the second and third round player in some of those same weeks playing a very weak opponent, then it's like you have a team that's set up for all 17 weeks to do well and fight for that 20,000 every week. But you also have KC players and 4, 5, 6 very vulnerable weeks where you've also drafted 2 or 3 guys that have shared weeks where they're playing a vulnerable defense as well. And that's boom. That's some stat, like it's going to be deep. The strategy involved in this particular contest, the weeklies, is deep, like beyond deep.
Yeah. I think you want a nice mixture of several different types of drafts. Like I said earlier, I don't think deep stacking is going to be as important with these weeklies as it is with with the big tournament. But I think mini stacks are good on several different teams. So if you can get several little mini stacks, like quarterback, receiver, quarterback, running back, or running back, receiver, or something like that going on throughout several different teams, I think that's a pretty good strategy too.
Yeah, I wish I had time to create some sort of program. Maybe I'll do that in the off season for next year. That literally you side by side you enter in the player that you're drafting, and it tells you, highlights the players that are also playing very weak opponents, and then it starts suggesting, hey, in week 4 you're building something here. Like it'd be crazy, bro. All right, hey Ron, I gotta go. Appreciate you.
Yep. Later.
All right, guys, we're drafting weekly winners tonight. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty. Link is in the description of every video, including this one. The link is in the live chat pinned. Please click that link or use code Smitty, because not only does it help me out, but it also gives you up to $100 bonus match on your first deposit. We're drafting the weekly winners best ball draft tonight, the brand new style of league that I just described, where the payouts are weekly. 20K to first place, 10K to second, and then 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, all the way down. These prizes every week, and nothing matters from one week to the next. You don't even have to do well the first 8 weeks. You could have the worst team in the entire tournament the first 8 weeks, draft all these suspended or injured players, and then in weeks 8 and 9 and 10, you have a better shot of winning those $20,000 prizes, because they're all standalone weeks. They have nothing to do with the entire season. There's no season prize. It's just weekly. It's amazing. I can't wait. We're doing it live tonight. I'll see you all later. Appreciate you.
Law Dog Milk for Maines on sale this season. Soak your mane and win a league. Law Dog Milk. A lion lives among us, posing as half man, half lawman. His golden mane is reportedly 6 feet long and is bathed in milk.
That's right.
His marvelous mane grows longer with each breath he takes. Legend has it that if you say T-Law in the dark in the bathroom 3 times, you lose your league instantly. Conspiracy fanatics have linked his triangle bone structure to the ancient pyramids and alien theory.
People are getting burrowed left and right, and people are going to remember it.
Get burrowed.
All right, see you all tonight. Please click that link in the live chat and in the description, or use code Smitty and get ready for tonight. you will not want to try and sign up at the last second. You want to do it now so that you got the app ready to go. And when we say get in, you're just looking at the contest right in front of your face. No sign up will be needed. Let's roll. Weekly. Look, I'm excited for these weeklies. Weeklies. Let's ride.
Kenneth Skywalker. Kenneth Lightsaber Swinging Skywalker.